All right, everybody, it's Friday. I know you're ready. Everybody's had a long week. We're ready to do some decompression. We're going to have some fun, relaxing, well, maybe not relaxing, conversations. We're going to hang out. We're going to air it all out. There's so much going on. Ezra goes home. Sabine uses the Force. Morai shows up. The Mortis gods versus Abeloth. Balin's story unfinished. Kanan's lightsaber, Hugh Yang's teachings, Sabine and Ahsoka. Everything is going on in here. So we're going to talk about it. Come on in and hang out. Let's do this and let's have a good time. All right, so we're going to start this off today. We're going to go back and we're just going to dive right into it. Let's talk about the elephants in the room first. Let's get out all the stuff that's out of the realm of possibility. So Sabine has the ability to use the Force. So Dave Filoni has officially finished that storyline from the Rebels story, from when she used the Darksaber. We catch some indications in Rebels that she could potentially be Force sensitive, just in the way that she's handling the Darksaber, and that she handles it with such ease compared to somebody who is a true warrior like Din Djarin. It's an interesting perspective in a storyline. He finally finishes and gives us a little more explanation into why Sabine was able to use the Darksaber with such ease back when during the Rebellion era. So, I know this is a contentious point for a lot of people. I know that everybody feels like there's this, the Force should be special, right? But however, I wouldn't think that, even though Hugh Yang says it repeatedly that, Sabine is an unfit student, that she wouldn't have got accepted by the Jedi Order. But obviously, Ahsoka sees potential in her, and maybe that is something that is unseen, but to a master. So, welcome everybody. We're gonna, if you're just jumping in, come and hang out. You relax, kick your shoes off. It's Friday. Grab a beer, grab whatever you do to relax, and let's just hang out and let's try to keep it as mellow as possible with all of the insanity that is going on in the Star Wars universe between people saying they're going to quit Star Wars because this Disney stuff is just not for them, or whether some people have turned a corner and have come back to the fold of liking Star Wars. So let's see who's here. Let's check out the chat. Let's give it a second. What's up, Maximus? Welcome, Leia, Star Wars Academy, Chillmonger, the Stanleys. What's up? Yeah, so let's talk about, how do you guys feel about this whole thing, right? Sabine finally has a moment where the Force is awakened, so to speak. This idea that haunts the pre-Disney purchase, the true George Lucas fans. This is what presents them with all of this. So this is where their large argument comes from: is that everything Disney is trash. But I mean, this is, not a new thing for the Force to awaken in an individual, all the way back to the OT trilogy with Luke. Luke was not showing any more Force abilities than young Anakin Skywalker on Tatooine, being able to pod race and or go, shoot some desert critters in the dunes of Tatooine. So this is not a new idea that the Force at an odd age can awaken. We have Luke, then we have Rey, now we have Sabine. This isn't anything new. So I understand the argument from we'll call it the pre-Disney camp, but ultimately this is something that George did, and I 100% believe, even during the time when he was animating Rebels and creating the Rebels show, that he was talking to his mentor, that he was going back and getting advice from the person who taught him everything about Star Wars that he didn't already know or that he thought he knew, right? So this is a big thing for me, and I do believe that, I still hold it in my heart that these two guys talk on a regular basis, that George Lucas is 100% involved in what's going on in the Dave Filoni era of Star Wars, and that he comes to set and they talk, and that he is happy with what is going on, opposed to the the sequel trilogy where the directors and nobody really appreciated his wisdom and guidance. I think that the times have turned, and that it's more let's say George Lucas adjacent, let's say. Okay, Wookie Talks, how's it going? Saber Smith, what's cracking? Anthony, the YouTube fan, what do you got to say? I'd rather taken back by some of the negative views from some of the Star Wars fans have had about Ahsoka in the finale. Also, Sabine, Tar Vizsla descendant, she heard his voice. Look, there's so much in this. And I totally agree with everything you're saying. Look, Sabine is Mandalorian. We haven't seen a Mandalorian be able to use the Force in so long. I think that Dave Filoni kind of always intended this during the Rebels era, especially with her using the Darksaber, and even in just having it for moments and training with Kanan, that it became lighter and more fluid and easier to use for her. And that's something that's an attachment thing through the Force with a kyber crystal. So kind of he was throwing those hints back then. I totally like this. I mean, ultimately, I think she should have been the one to lead Mandalore instead of Bo-Katan during the Empire era. But she chose to bend the knee to what she thought was a superior leader that ended up getting her people wiped off the face of the earth, probably not once but twice. So yeah, I mean, look, it's a thing. It's a thing here. So that's all I'm saying is Sabine has had this saber ability, this force ability long before. Her metachlorian count may not be as high as say Ezra or some of these other guys, but it doesn't really matter. Ultimately, the force is awakened. Oh, he just popped himself in. He didn't even wait for me to finish my sentence. He's like, "Hey, I'm here. Let me in."
Well, I'm sick and tired of you telling me that I always have the power and I never use it.
I didn't even get to use my chime sound for you. What's up, dude? How's it going?
I couldn't wait, bro.
It's okay, dude.
Okay.
There's so much. It
Too
just
little time.
in
Too
this
much
one
to talk about.
episode, there's just so much. There's
Agreed.
so much good. I
Agreed.
am befuddled. Like Brandon was just saying,
Now,
I'm sorry,
I'm
Anthony, YouTube fan, was just saying this, that he's kind of taken back and surprised. I'm not, because the Disney haters are always going to hate. So I'm not surprised, but I am taken back that there are more people that have come on board with Ahsoka than left, so to speak.
yeah, I missed what you were saying at the very beginning of the stream, but I just have to reiterate the fact that like I saw the interview today. It was Emergency Awesome, I think. He does
Okay.
pretty good breakdowns for Star Wars. But he's got a Dave Filoni clip of him talking about the Mortis gods and them being a George Lucas creation. He's sitting in the room with everybody in the Clone Wars telling them about these gods, and it
But
is
it's a Clone
from
Wars
George
era
Lucas.
story, though.
Yep.
It's not a Rebel
But
story.
yes, agreed. And Filoni even said, like, Filoni even missed the first 10 minutes of what the explanation started out as. But he said when he walked into the room, no writer even had a pen in their hand. Everybody was
Dogs
just
were on
in
the
awe
floor.
of him dropping this new bomb on them about they'd never heard about the Mortis gods, but it's something that George Lucas created.
Well,
So
that's that.
the Zepho outside of that is new, which I love, and I feel like it's meshing together like very well.
Oh
Video
yeah, I
games
mean,
and live action,
I
like
love the video game crossover that just gives us the opportunity for a Cal Kestis live action at some point, because the
yeah.
crossover is obviously in Dave's mind. Look, the thing is that look, George George created a lot of these storylines that Dave is just weaving into the fabric of now. And this whole, I mean, even to the
I
point
mean, you could
of
arguably say
oh,
all of the storylines.
I
Like
mean, maybe
they're
not
not. I
Sabine with the
mean,
Force storyline. I can't. That's more of a Dave story arc for sure.
which one?
The Sabine arc is 100% Dave. That George really didn't have much to do with the Sabine
Well, as
story
far as
arc.
what?
Any of it really. I mean, Sabine's a
But
rebels.
I'm just kind of like I'm kind of trying. I'm being facetious, but like this is all based on George's
True. Yeah,
creation.
and
Like
the idea of
the fact that
Sabine.
they think people, or that the fact that people think Dave is going to sway from anything that George would.
I go one step
to-
further to think that
yeah.
he has marred George's legacy. I feel is a gaslighting, just plain and simple. To say outright, I see these posts, uh, the force is female, and all
Mm,
this stuff that people argue that they use these
yeah.
same talking points over and over again. But ultimately, Dave is finishing a lot of story arcs. He's paying homage to George by using the Mortis gods, by bringing in Abeloth, by
Hmm.
all of this. But ultimately, the thing I was saying in the beginning is I wanted to get the elephant out of the room, which is Sabine using the force, because that's what everybody is crying the most about, right? That's what I've heard is like, oh, now everybody has the
Hmm.
force, now everybody can do. It's like, whoa, hold on. Number one, this is another character that has awakened. The force has awoken in them, and this goes back to Luke. Luke's a
Mm.
19-year-old boy that knows he's kind of talented when it comes to flying, but doesn't really know why. He's never grabbed the salt shaker or the blue milk container from the fridge with the force, right? So, like, he in himself, Kenobi, maybe the death of his aunt and uncle, Barbecue, Owen, and Baru, uh, were was something tragic that awoke in the force in him, right? I mean, this is not a new concept. This is George Lucas's original concept for Luke Skywalker. So why is it okay for George to do it in the original New Hope, and it's not okay for his protege to reiterate that again with a character he created, and we got to see her journey in really ultimately getting comfortable with herself,
Hmm.
fighting her own demons, because she was always holding herself back. And what's the one time in life you're going to realize everything is when you're about to die,
Yeah.
right? So your mind is clearest and it comes into focus, and all of a sudden, I need this, and it happens, right?
Yeah, and it's like people who argue this, and it's like the hill they're gonna die on, you're preventing it in any other person ever in the story. Like how somebody in chat, like I would challenge you to give us the perfect example of the force being discovered within somebody. Is this literally up to only the parents of the birthed child to recognize this? Like I just don't know where it stops. You know what I mean? Like where's it okay? You know, it just
But everybody can't have the force. It's gotta be a legacy character or their kids or something. It can't just be everybody has the force. I'm okay.
so I get that also. I do because lineage is important in Star Wars. But does
Sure.
that mean that like now are you saying every single person somehow ties these people? I'm asking the people who have the lineage argument
Right,
because
right.
we just go to the other end of the goddamn extreme.
But
Are you
but
telling me that their bloodlines are tied to people like Darth Bane
but it
and
shouldn't.
Bastila?
But
Like
I guess that's the point. I guess that's the point, is that Luke and Leia are an abomination.
They are an abomination!
Right? They're
and
not
Luke was
supposed you're
too.
not
I mean,
you're
and
not
Anakin was too. I mean,
well, no, but Luke and Leia specifically are an abomination to the Jedi code. You don't breed, right? Mundi was like an exception because his race was going extinct. He's like Spock. He had to go back to his people to help repopulate, right? But aside from that, like, the Jedi aren't supposed to breed because the Force is just supposed to be the Force. You're not supposed to lineage this bloodline into this like perfect specimen of Jedi or whatever. Like, it's not. The Jedi forbade this attachment for a reason, right? They forbade them from breeding for a reason. Otherwise, Jedi would have been getting it on in the Jedi Temple and just popping out Jedi babies, right? I mean, I guess that's the argument, is that it's
I
not
mean, I don't know if
supposed to
that's the
be,
exact argument,
but it's not
but
supposed to be a bloodline lineage thing. It's not
yeah,
supposed to be the
I know what you
Skywalkers or bust, right?
yeah,
Like,
and I
Luke
don't
and
think there
Leia were
should
a
be either.
fucking abomination.
But the way that kind of ties in, which is cool, is the fact that Bane literally destroyed all. Like, let's go. I will steel man their own argument for them. Darth Bane, for lack of a better word, cut off all the bloodlines on the dark
I
side.
love it. I
And
love
then
it.
you have Order 66. They cut off all the remaining bloodlines, and that was Vader's ultimate goal, was to track down any other force-sensitive bloodlines. These kids on the list, we didn't know nothing about them. They could have all literally been tied to people in Old
For all
Republic.
we know. Yes, but
So, like,
ultimately,
if it's tied to bloodlines, it's got to be every goddamn person, and that's just too hard to do.
it's too hard to do.
Yeah,
It's
like,
impossible
and
in a
it puts
galaxy.
an impossible lid on the capabilities of the Force too. Like, eventually, the Force could, in theory, go extinct if you're really, like, if that's as far
That's
as you
what
want to
I'm saying.
push yourself.
That's why the lines of kings and queens and lineage didn't matter.
Mm,
Stopped mattering because bloodlines end. People die unexpectedly. You can't press fate as much as you want to try
yeah.
to make your fate. I mean, even in the Star Wars universe, look at Anakin. He
Mhm.
tries to make his fate what he wants it to be, and he fucks it all up.
Yeah.
Right? So you can't. And ultimately this whole like, oh, it's, why does this person have it?
Mhm.
Doesn't matter. So the Stanleys, I was reading this while you were talking, the Stanley says, my issue isn't that Sabine can use the Force, it will be what extent she will start to rip a ship out of the sky and then have a problem. Look,
I get that, and I think they did a really good job. She barely was able to push Homie to the ship, like,
right,
almost didn't make it. So,
right.
pulling your saber to yourself, early lessons. Pulling a rock to yourself, like, you could do that with anger. Yeah, you could literally do that with anger. Like, we don't know if she used the light side to get that, So it's just like too early. It's too early. But I agree with what the Stanleys is saying. I don't want someone who's immediately discovering the
No,
Force,
but she
being able to
wasn't OP.
do something.
She didn't grab all the night
Right.
troopers and throw them off of the
Right.
thing at once. She didn't use like, Force
Exactly.
Crush, like a dark side ability because she was angry. No, no, no.
And we're watching her also, like, at first with the saber getting shot, not deflecting bolts back at people. Arguably, in the one episode, she got lucky and was swinging at the guy and
Right.
deflected the bolt back at his eye. In this last episode, she's deflecting bolts while using a blaster and her saber. So the progression is there. It's a little sped up because it's TV, but man, like,
Well, and then on top of that, I'll go one step further on that. In the beginning, you see her, it's a Mandalorian thing, yes, but she's constantly blocking the bolts to her face without her helmet, right? And Din Djarin does that, and Boba
mhm.
Fett does that. They all use their Beskar to its advantage,
Been in
right?
this fight since I was 6 years old.
Right, right. So, but at the same time, like in all of these scenes, I think that's what kind of made me believe that she is force sensitive. Is she's constantly getting attacked, but she's almost like parrying or
Mm,
blocking, like boxing. You
yeah.
see the same movement because she's protecting her face, but she's
She knows
not.
she has the bracers that are Beskar, and she's just
Right,
using what
right.
she
And
has. Like, it's
and so she's using the force without knowing she's using the force. She's doing what Anakin did when he would pod race. She's doing what Luke would do when he would blast swamp rats. Like this is,
man, and people will say they've seen that in Han Solo, and people will say they've seen that in Poe Dameron, and,
but
like,
the
they've never
force
been
resides
confirmed
in
to have it. Like,
everybody.
that's what we're saying. That's what
And
I'm
that's why they're
saying.
such good pilots, because they
Mhm.
may not have the force abilities, but the instincts are
There's
there.
levels to this,
There's
man.
levels to this shit, man. It's not all or none. You're not
Yeah.
Yoda, you're not Anakin level or nothing. There's levels to
So,
this shit.
speaking of levels, and this is where, like, my hype comes from, every single time a little light side person gets the Force, it's like that game changer meter on the Jedi side, you know what I'm saying? In, like, any of those
But I
games,
think that's
sports
perfect.
ball games. So
Yes, football.
follow
I'm
me,
with
because
you. I'm with
eventually
you.
the Jedi, they're gonna hit that game changer, and I think it kinda already happened, and they're gonna blow it. When that happens, the Sith, dark side, we're starting to build up our little game changer over on this side here. So the rippling, like, we've never seen it ripple back fully, because it's been Palpatine arguably the whole time. Now, if he's out completely,
Or even
like,
if he's just
removed from the scenario,
out to lunch, right? Because he's
but
in
that
between.
essence that he carries, that lineage from the Sith, I am all the Sith. Like,
Mhm.
we're gonna see that ripple. I
Well,
need to. It has
well,
to be something crazy.
Well, and here's the thing: is that okay? So I think this is what gives Palpatine time, right? Gives the Shadow Company time, because Abeloth is going to take our Force users time, right? They are going to be focused on Abeloth. They're not going to be focused on the remnants of the Empire. So your Ahsokas, your Sabines, your Ezra. Ezra might focus on Thrawn to begin with, but Abeloth may become such a huge threat that we have to get the Luke, the band together, the whole band together, the Luke, the Leia, the fucking Grogu, the whole band might have to get together to handle Abeloth, right? And be distracted from the new raising empire, in the First Order. This could be the distraction that gives Palpatine the ability to come in and swoop in, right? It's a real opportunity. I don't understand the anger, because this is what they wanted. They wanted their Legends shit to be canon. They wanted their EU shit to be canonized.
Well,
He's doing
I
it.
know people keep saying that. I know people keep saying the name that starts with an A that I refuse to say right now. Nothing's been confirmed. Nothing's been confirmed. So be confident all you want. And if you keep it up, we might have to put a wager on it.
But look, I mean, you know me. I love to gamble when it comes to my Star Wars. I'm all about paying debts, but I'm just saying that there's too many coincidences to not go the Abeloth route, right?
And the main one that I see is the father, son, daughter thing.
the
But
Mortis gods.
again, yeah, but again, like the mother's barely been mentioned.
Great.
So
Even better.
I agree. I agree. So the setup's got to start, I think, before Balin gets to the damn place.
Well, you don't feel like what happened in the Mortis arc is enough to start that ripple, right? Because
Not for the live action side. We need a little bit more. A little more.
Well, and we're going to get more. Okay, so
I think that the end of that show is enough to make people go watch at least the Mortis arc. But is the Mortis arc alone enough to get everybody on board that, oh shit, it's the mother calling him? I don't know.
Well, but here's the thing. The only reason they call her the mother is she's the mother of darkness, right? She's the
mother in this scenario of this
but she's actually
family.
She's actually a servant. She's not a mother. She's a servant. She was a servant
She
to
just
the
had
Mortis
that name. That was just the name that.
No, they call her the mother of evil because of what happened to her. Okay. So Abeloth isn't the mother of the son and daughter. She's not the wife of the father. If I've said that before, I was wrong.
No, I am just interpreting.
No, I think I don't know if I've said that before. That's
the
what
dichotomy.
If I've said that before, I was incorrect. I was speaking incorrect.
Just the name given to her.
Abeloth was a servant to the father, the son, and the daughter, and they basically loved her, and so she became part of their little family, right? As some servants do in the old ways, right? Some servants become as close as family and basically become family. She started to get old, and so she was looking for a way to be immortal like the people she loved. And so she went and drank from the pool of darkness and did all, or whatever it is. There's a whole story arc you can read about. Anyway,
plenty of YouTube videos out there.
She goes in and she does some forbidden shit and basically becomes the mother of evil, is what they call her. And that's why she's called the mother. She's not actually the mother of the son and daughter. Yeah. And that's a misconception. She has just become the mother of evil, which they call the mother. That's it.
Just simply put, the most dark side thing that could exist that would counter the the Bendu's in the middle. We have never really seen the light side version of what you would call that.
No. And here's the thing with Abeloth is that she is kind of, this is kind of where people get struck, but she's kind of immortal, right? Because of what she did and how she did it. She's kind of this immortal creature. So they don't really kill her. It's more of an imprisonment, right? So she's, kind of imprisoned like Zod and Superman. They put her in different places and restrain her from. There you go. She bathed in the. Thank you for bringing this up. She bathed in the pool of power and drank from the font of knowledge. And
Fountain. I think it's fountain of knowledge.
and that turned her dark, and that started this whole thing. So the Mortis gods put her in jail of some kind, and then so on and so forth. So Luke actually travels to Mortis at some point in the story arc, grabs the dagger that killed the father, and and uses it to basically wound Abeloth enough to imprison her, hopefully in the mouth.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yep.
And that's where Han Solo will come in, and Chewbacca, and the whole Kessel Run and Solo, and then that movie will make even more sense, and that'll piss even more people off, but it'll make me happy. So,
dude, so I was talking with Santa and Trev. I don't know if anybody knows Trev from Nerd Avengers, but very, very knowledgeable guy when it comes to like the Thrawn and the Legends stuff. And he was talking about how Thrawn and the Empire, Thrawn or the Empire, had outposts literally in the maw. So they somehow developed tech that was able to be in the maw, and they were, for lack of a better word, policing things that were traveling, in that area. So that's the kind of stuff I want to see, is like the otherworldly, I guess. If you can say otherworldly in Star Wars, it'd be anything outside of the star map that we've seen, Outer Rim, etc. Like, I'm hyped for all that. And I think it's going to be like that new expanded universe.
And I feel like, so we see Morai in the beginning, where we see Ahsoka in Mandalorian, right? In the episode The Jedi of Mando, we see Morai in the distance on a tree. And so we all know that Ahsoka's coming. You see Morai, Ahsoka's on the way. They are together always. But we get into this what do we want to call it? We get into these moments where we see Morai here on Peridia, and all of a sudden everybody's ears perk up. Oh shit, Morai's here. And then we see the Mortis God statues, and the sister, her statue is demolished. Now here's the thing. Is this planet, is this place somehow symbiotic to their existence, and that when she died, the temple crumbled? Or did maybe the brother do that? Or what, it's just, there's a lot of confusion here, because we lose 2 out of the 3 Mortis gods. The son is the only one left.
So, man, I think, and I don't know how deep Dave wants to go with the Night Sister stuff, but if anybody's read, I pull it out every week, but if anyone's read this book, there's a whole section in here by Mother Talzin. The Night Sisters originally were not evil like they're depicted now. Like, they were about the natural order and of the Force, and literally like nature, essentially. The Quat, or the people that made those like infinity gates that we keep talking about, they reverted back into their creature forms. Like, literally, howlers could even be this species. We don't know. But if they want to go back tens of thousands of years on this planet, we could see a completely different view of Night Sisters, or the sisters they were before that. I think some bad shit happened to them. Bad shit. And that's why this like, I got a mount, and people are going to hate this reference, but I loved their CGI depictions of what happened to Mount Doom in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. That was a luscious forest, like natural, covered everything. When that shit exploded, it changed the entire landscape forever. I think something went down at this temple. Maybe the temple wasn't Darkseid or whatever, but then this ripple effect that came across like the entire area destroyed the daughter's statue, like purposefully. And that's what corrupted all the Night Sisters. I know that's a super big reach, but read the book, read the section, or find a video on the Mother Talzin section. That's really all they have to base their whole new shit on. So I'm really leaning into like what they're giving us. Night Sisters and Mortis. Don't want to go too much further, like Abeloth and all that stuff, but I think we could eventually. I just need more. I need more,
let's
Dave.
let's talk about the shiny beacon on the hill then.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the eye of Sauron in the distance, so to speak. Over there on Mount Doom, the Star Wars Mount
Yeah.
Doom, and the father pointing in that direction. I mean, these things are not coincidence,
Right.
right?
The father having black eyes is not coincidence. Like all the other statues, like the eyes are stone. If you look at even the son's eyes, they're stone. So father's eyes are blacked out just like the Night Sisters. I don't know. That may have been something that happened as well when I think this cataclysmic event happened to them. I mean, that whole last 2 episodes were all Middle Earth, bro. Everything. Thrawn
Yeah.
standing on top of the wall,
It
watching
was
him off,
Middle
like evil ass Minas Tirith looking place. Like it's mythological and it's epic. So I think it all rhymes. It's a testament to our culture and how good those movies were.
right.
Portals to worlds between worlds. I'm curious about like Morai. I feel like Morai can just float. And the planet they were on, where she's sitting on the branch, obviously we never saw one. But every other place she shows up, I think eventually like a portal is there. No, maybe not. It'd be something I'd want to track.
Well, I mean, does she show up on Lothal? Is that the first time we see her? No, the first time we see her is in the world.
Like I said,
World.
I got to do my
Rebels.
rewatch.
I think in Rebels, the first time we see her is in the World Between Worlds, if I'm not mistaken.
But it's like the bird is either and this is just me, my opinion. I think the bird is either a figment of Ahsoka, seeing only one that can see it, or it somehow has a mythical ability to like phase where she is. Because how does it get to the planet she's on if it's the same bird?
Well, I mean, that's just it. She is the Mortis god, and even though
right, so it can go.
It is Morai. So basically, Morai gave up. Basically, the way that I look at it, if you want to talk about what you were just talking about, which is the de-ascension of ascended beings, so to speak. What is going on with this thing today? But ultimately, I lost it.
Morai, and how I think that she's potentially a figment.
She is the daughter. So,
yeah,
if she's this ascended being, let's say, right? I'm gonna use a little Stargate reference here to get me there. So let's say she's an ascended being, right? She has the Mortis gods are this higher evolution of the Force, right? And the embodiment of the guardians of the Force, so to speak. And she chooses to give up her immortality to save Ahsoka. So she puts her immortal soul in Ahsoka, basically, and de-evolves into the owl. Right? But still has the ability to step in and out of the
She's
fold.
like fixed in that form now.
She's fixed in that
yeah,
form forever.
I like that.
Right. And so
because they did like they morphed into the griffin and the other shit
Right.
too. So it's not like shape shifting is outside of the norm.
Exactly. But I think that she basically gave up her ascension, gave up her immortality to save Ahsoka, and then was basically stuck in this form, but can still pop in and out of the fold, much like Anakin.
Yeah. See, there's another instance.
And we're gonna get there. Don't you worry, kids. But first, Dan the Man is here.
What up, man?
Dan?
Good to have you here,
my friends. How y'all doing?
What's cracking?
Great.
We're honestly still on topic number 1. I started with Sabine, and then we kind of morphed into the Mortis gods and the Morai and the Abeloth. So we've been kind of all over the map so far. We haven't gotten into any of the juicy stuff I'm looking forward to.
Gotcha.
But what are your thoughts? What do you think? Let's start there. Where's your head at?
Well, for one, I want to make the record clear to everyone in chat that you missed Dan eating. He will not be eating tonight. I already made my steak.
He's getting it in before the comments come.
I did. Yep. So I had to beat y'all to the punch because I know someone's going to say something about it. Maybe if Obsession does one tomorrow, I'll cook. Maybe. On the topic of Sabine, fuck Ray 2.0. I don't get the whole point of having that conversation. Like she let the girl train. Like I'm not really too hyped on that, honestly. Like if we've already seen her train with Kanan, it's a thing. It is what it is. Like fuck anyone who has a problem with that because it's
Well,
really.
but we were just talking about that a minute ago. I mean, Luke awakened his force abilities at 19. He didn't grab his first lightsaber out of the air until he was on Hoth, trapped in a situation where he was going to die also. So if anything, this is homage to Luke on Hoth.
And a lot of people, well,
because he didn't know saber training. He hadn't trained with Yoda yet. He didn't know how to use the Force. Ben says, trust your feelings. Use the Force. Luke, use the Force. Trust your feelings. That means focus, bitch.
But
That's all that meant. That wasn't like, oh, you stick your hand out and use the Force to guide the missile into the. No.
Obsession. It's because Luke is a man.
No.
It's because
Dan,
Luke,
don't do it, Dan.
You know what? We're not even gonna go there. I ain't gonna
no. I'm just saying, people make Luke out to be this Messiah, right? The almighty space Jesus, right? And this man shoots a shot that's yes, the Force ability helped him shoot this wonderful shot that blew off the first Death Star. Congratulations, Luke, you're a hero. Then you go to Hoth, you still haven't trained shit. You still don't know shit about the Force. You haven't seen another an Obi-Wan Kenobi ghost, so you're not ready to see a Force ghost. You get stuck by and hemmed up by a predator, and all of a sudden you see your lightsaber and you're like, lightsaber, let me get that shit. And you reach out and you make it wiggle, but why? Because you're gonna fucking die. And you get it and you chop off an arm and then you run out there and you're gonna die anyway until your homie comes and rescues you. Sabine does the same shit. Oh, I'm getting choked to death. Help me. I need a lightsaber. Oh shit, it came to me. Right? Like it's the same shit, man. Yeah. So why is everyone got their panties in a wad about all of this bullshit? The Force Awakening the man when he was 20 fucking years old.
Whether it's the conversation of everyone shouldn't have the Force after George Lucas told y'all the Force is in everybody, but everyone forgets that.
I mean, in episode 1, in his prequel movies, in the first fucking second that we see little Anakin Skywalker, he tells Anakin, metachlorians live in everybody. Everybody has them. They talk to us. Some people like us can hear it different. Right? He explains the whole thing in the first 10 seconds where he talks about the Force to a young, uneducated Force user. Right? It's such a stupid ass argument. Right? Yeah. We see her getting familiar with the Darksaber during Rebels with Kanan. She's training with it. She gets good with it. She decides to give it up. I think had she kept the Darksaber, she would have realized she's more sensitive. Right? But she stopped her training to help her planet free itself. Right? On the subject of Sabine, I love that we finally get somebody actually saying the words that Sabine's entire family is dead and they were on Mandalore during the Night of 1,000 Tears, and that's why she is the way she was, isolated and alone, because her whole family's dead.
Yeah, I can I mean, I think for me, I would love for them to retcon the brother to be the leader of Knights of Ren, but I think they even mentioned her whole family being wiped out in episode 2 at some point. Like we already knew they were gone. Someone just needed to reaffirm that, I guess.
Right. Well, but the thing is like the whole family's dead. We get why Ahsoka's a little tentative after that to continue her training because she's afraid she's just going to go all dark side because she's filled with all this rage and anger and she does the right thing in stepping away. We think she's the asshole in the beginning of the series, but by the end of it, you kind of understand her a little more. I just don't understand the Force Awakening being a bad thing. It just
people just need something to complain about.
I guess, dude. I guess.
You goddamn casuals. You ruin everything. Go educate yourselves immediately. Don't come back to this chat until you do.
It's the people that are Star Wars fans and creators. It's not just the Muggles, dude. it's not just the Muggles that are saying that are like,
It's
I don't
a
understand. I don't who's the guy who's the statue? I don't, what, who, I don't understand.
it's
You
not
don't-
them.
You
man.
don't
I'm just gonna
you-
keep
you-
saying it louder. It's an uneducated take. I'm sorry. Like
Y'all done
That's very
worn out
surface level.
Skywalker's Academy.
Okay,
very
okay.
surface level.
So Skywalker. Okay, so we're gonna move on. Let's talk about something that I didn't mention in the title that I was really excited to see, and that I think is a kind of cheesy, but was really really great. Was Ezra's new lightsaber? Right. Let's talk about the building of his lightsaber, judged by the master of sabers, Hu Yang, and is literally saying you're doing it wrong. Like what are you doing? You're doing it wrong. Like this is completely unacceptable. And in the end, he kind of understands why he is the way he is, right? So I really enjoyed this lightsaber scene with Ezra on, on this ship with all those lightsaber parts. And he's looking for one specific part that Kanan used. And I felt like that was a little Harry Potter. Felt like it was a little Phoenix feathers and twin cores for me. It was a little bit cheesy, but I loved that he basically built Kanan's saber.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an
It's like
homage
poetry.
to his master.
It rhymes.
Mhm.
I did feel like the blade was too small. I got to be honest. I feel like his blade length was too small
Mm-hmm.
in when he first fired it up. I was like, oh man, that looks like Ahsoka Shuto blade, bro. Like, come on.
About the
You're not
motion
like
in
you're
the
not a
ocean, bro.
you're not a 15-year-old kid anymore, man. Come on. Like you're taller, you're stronger. Like get that.
Still effective in combat, though.
It is. I'm just saying. It was off-putting to me.
Yeah.
So, but I thought the saber was awesome. Blue, going back to his original color, blue. Is this an homage to Kanan? Is that what this truly was? That this kyber crystal that obviously he got from Hu Yang, right? Because he didn't go and find himself a new kyber crystal. So, um, he gets this crystal. He's building it. Hu Yang is literally telling him, "You're building it wrong." And then he hears the magic name. He hears Kanan Jarrus, and he's like, "Oh, okay, I get why you are the way you are," because he was a weird duck too, right? Like he didn't do anything the conventional way either. And then they have this really impactful conversation about Kanan and Ezra getting a little background on Kanan that he never got before from another perspective, right? I felt like that was a real emotional scene that they built pretty perfectly.
Yeah, I loved everything about it. Hu Yang's awesome. Hope he stays alive and well at 75% original parts for a long time.
Yeah,
There's a lot of history with that droid. Like,
Yeah, the
I
concept.
need the knowledge in his brain. At least someone keep that. Someone keep the memory chip.
I would love for Hu Yang to like keep being this, whether we see him in the High Republic, the current Ahsoka, and in Rey's stuff. He needs to be the Harry Potter give kids lightsaber. Just keep Hu Yang around. Like,
No, I totally agree, and
Yeah,
I think
that'd be cool.
the fact that he has
Protect him at all costs.
I think
protect
I
Hu Yang.
honestly think that's one of the largest mistakes that the Empire made. Right? Is Hu Yang should have been like on the top 10 hit list. Like Yoda,
Legit.
Obi-Wan, the Council, Hu Yang, right? I mean, the man who knows how to build lightsabers and has taught every saber wielder and saber
That
creator for 25,000 years. I feel like they fucked up.
Also, well, did you guys catch that the ship that they are riding in is the same one that he was taking the younglings in the Clone Wars?
I don't think it was.
It was.
They were on a freighter.
They broke it down on a video somewhere that it was the
So
same one.
here, before we get into
Ahsoka's ship, you mean?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh,
so this is so me and Scotty were talking about this. This is our the guy.
Ian McKellen should play the father in live action if they were to do a flashback.
So I mean, are his eyes kind of
Green?
different?
Yes.
Or no, I mean, are they different in regards to the statue? Or
oh,
did they-
you mean because I was saying the statue has blacked out eyes? Yeah, and maybe it's just his natural. Okay.
That's all.
Touche.
Okay. No, I'm asking. I'm just asking.
No objections.
No objections. Okay. So moving on to next precedent. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I do feel like let's check out the
We'll let the juries decide.
we'll let the jury take this one. Let's take a look at that scene. Let's go back to the Clone Wars and let's find I believe it was season 4, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It's either late 3 or early 4, so it's late 3. So, yeah, she's young there.
While you're doing that, I'll touch on something Padawan said about the old EU and how something that just a non-Force user suggested to Luke is what changed his entire thinking and his ability was able to emerge. I love when Star Wars does stuff like that. It's that human element. Like these Force users, Jedi, Sith, they're almost literally gods. They're like Hercules among men to some of these people. You see somebody move something with their mind for the first time, you're like, some people will be like, I'm not going anywhere near that person. That's terrifying. So to have like that human connection that is what can help the Force balance still is cool. Because you see that corruption on the other side. You see people give in to the Empire so easily for protection. You know, it's just cool to see.
Okay, so here is let's do another present screen, and we're gonna go with this one. So this is the ship that they were taking during the lightsaber Kyber Crystal to Ilum trip. This was the cruise ship Hu Yang, and basically it is a larger starship, maybe a similar.
Danny's presenting his evidence. You're not even paying attention.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I just got an important call. What's going on?
Yeah. So this is the ship that they during this episode of the lightsaber to Ilum trip, the Kyber Crystal collection vessel, if you will. And so this is the ship. It's similar design, maybe. Maybe the one that he takes fits inside of here, but basically, this is the ship that we see in that episode with the younglings.
The whole time?
The whole time. Yeah, because then Hondo takes them, and then they're on Hondo's ship. So when Hondo takes over the ship, then the younglings end up getting put on his ship, and oh boy, Matt Cave's inbound.
Oh shit.
So yeah, I mean, look, it's there's so much going on in this finale alone without dissecting each episode, without going into the insanity of it. You know, let's get into oh yeah, he's smiley. Hi.
Hey.
Hello there.
Hello there.
What's up, fellas?
So what'd you think of the finale?
I have thoughts.
Oh, well, please lay them on us. I'm gonna go get my Matt Cave mug here in a second.
It's man, I can't even believe how much hate has been out there with this one this time. Like I expected there to be, because obviously it's Star Wars, so you know we got to have that hate that happens, but it almost feels highly exaggerated this time. Like it's out there.
Oh, it's the straw that broke the camel's back, don't you know?
I
mean, they don't remember Zero BBY.
Well, you don't remember Zero BBY,
right? Exactly. Like
it was yesterday. Never forget.
That just almost knocked over my desk.
Don't do that.
But yeah, I mean, look, it is charged. It is extra charged up.
Yeah, it's really spicy this time, and I feel like I think it feels so exaggerated because we've had so many series that have come before it at this point. So I think it truly is the last straw for some people, and then there's others that I think just go over the top for the sake of going over the top.
Well, the silly arguments are the fun arguments are what are getting me. So the soy boy Ezra riding bitch on the Wolfies, that was my favorite. Like, oh my, wait.
Oh my god, Star Wars is dead. Did you see the subway hanging onto the back of that girl? Who lets
Wait,
a
there
girl
was.
drive?
I didn't hear this. There's issues with Ezra riding on the
dude,
creatures.
there's issues
Matt.
with Ezra riding bitch on the back of Wolfie Dog. Yeah,
Why?
I'm gonna say it. Can I say it, Obsession?
because
Can
feminism, bro. Because it's a Wokatano. I told
Can
you
I
that.
educate Matt for a second? It was
Educate
Echo.
me.
Educate
It was
away.
it was Echo Base Network.
Oh shit! I didn't know you were going to educate him that much.
They were the ones who posted that exact tweet, the side by side photos, bro. So it's that deep. It's not just about hate. It's about a
It's so
specific
much
thing
more,
that
dude.
people dislike, and it's the
I'm
women
very
that are
often out of
ruining
the loop.
everything for them. I don't get it,
It's
dude.
the feminism
So
of
triggered by women. It's so crazy to me.
I mean,
I
I
laugh
didn't have a.
inside.
I didn't even think about that until you just mentioned it.
it's ass Okatano, and it's Wokatano. Like it's the same two things at
These
the same
takes
time.
are
apparently.
asinine.
So,
All right.
Go ahead, Dan in the back. Go ahead.
I will be refuting my case in court that about the shuttle, sir. Can you please pull up Screen Crush's video, please?
If you send me a link, I will gladly.
You want me to send it to you here or in Discord, sir?
Whichever works for you, my guy. I got both screens up.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Oh, I love.
He's not letting it go.
He's not letting it go. He's like,
I'm not letting it. You let me go. I'm not letting it go.
but yeah, look,
Hello,
I mean,
Jack.
look, the hate is visceral right now. I mean, it's always been there. Look, people were upset with Boba Fett. Fair. There was a lot of Boba Fett that was not fantastic, but ultimately, it is what it is. I largely blame that on the director and taking his choices a little too far. We get into Kenobi. Everybody's upset because it's not the Kenobi they wanted. They wanted Kenobi roaming around the sands of Tatooine for 8 episodes, and that didn't happen. So you get to this show, you get to Andor. Andor was a coin flip. I thought the people that would like Andor would like Andor. I thought the people that would, I thought more people would like Andor because it is a little more, old school, gritty Star Wars, dark and mysterious, fun. No lightsabers though, so that people got their asses hurt. Like Den of Nerds, he said, "I'm not doing it," and he didn't do it at all. Timestamp 650. Gotcha. So, we move on to this show where it's been pretty bitchin'. I mean, to be really honest, I haven't done a full rewatch yet, but damn, there was some good shit. Now, I'm overly critical on this show because Ahsoka is by far my favorite humanoid character, right? But damn, did they do a good job with the whole storytelling, with the action sequences, the martial arts included. Everything across the board was in my opinion the best that they've done in live action.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it, and I want Dan to be able to get into his thing first, because I'll share my thoughts on this whole thing, but I'll try to word it as best I can, because I'm not without my concerns, but I'm actually bringing two perspectives to the table, because I watched the show with my wife, who is not all neck deep in this stuff.
Yep,
and I got her view as well, so I'll share that. But let's rock and roll with Dan the Man first.
My guy, I appreciate you, brother, man. Ahsoka is a show that I can rewatch multiple times throughout the year. A feeling that I have not had with any of the other Mandoverse shows. And if I was to watch Mando or Andor again, it would probably be once, because I was bored and want nothing else on TV. But Ahsoka, that shit, I'm probably gonna rewatch that as I'm watching Dexter. I'll probably turn that on Saturday. Like, it is the show. Like, it checks all the stuff that Dan has particularly wanted, more degenerate. It's got me hyped for future storytelling. A lot of my theories are starting to come about. I got more theories on the way, how it could possibly tie into Star Wars Outlaws. Like, there is shit that I can discuss with Ahsoka that I couldn't do with Mando season 3, that I couldn't do with the Book of Boba Fett or Kenobi, because why? They left bitter taste in my mouth.
Sure.
But Ahsoka, that's some top-notch shit, man. I mean, can talk about that for days.
The fact that this is Dave's, theatrical debut, realistically his live action debut on a lot of on handling it as a whole, and not just directing one episode. The entire story being written by him is fitting. I just feel like there's so much good in this show that I'm befuddled at the amount of dislike and the visceral foaming at the mouth nature of a lot of this. Like the complaint was, it's a feminized show. Okay, well, so I'll give. Here's another argument that I heard is, why do I have to watch something else to understand what's going on? Number one, you didn't. There's just bonus shit for us that you're not really going to understand. I mean, really, the story works without Rebels altogether.
Objection.
Go,
Objection.
go ahead.
Would you like to move to strike?
No, but like
I would like to treat him like a hostile witness.
I mean, it's hard for people who grew up during the OT to argue with people who grew up now. And it's because all of their extended universe EU shit is considered legends now and doesn't matter technically until it does. This argument that comics aren't canon and books aren't canon and TV's not canon and it isn't canon unless it's
The only thing that's canon is movies.
right. So if that's the case, they got a lot of fucking explaining to do in these films, dude. Like, it's canon until it isn't canon. Retcon's not a dirty word. Star Wars has existed like this for the entire existence of Star Wars. No, I'm sick of this argument that people come across. They tell me all the goddamn time the shit behind me is not canon. Show me where it's not. Prove to me where it's been proven that it's not. Until it isn't, it is. Like, it's simple. You are overthinking this shit if you're pulling novels and comics out of your canon brain. That's a simplified way of treating Star Wars. I'm not doing that anymore with anybody. So
these words, like, I don't know the right word for what I'm thinking of, but basically, it's it's hard to argue. It's hard to debate any point when the other side uses the word headcanon. Okay, from one, I can think of
boring.
I can think of other stupid ass words that I've heard in my life that make zero sense to me. But the word headcanon is by far the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. And I will die on that rock.
Unless
you don't get to dictate what is canon in this universe. I am sorry to tell you, but the almighty Star Wars doesn't give a flying fuck about what you think it should be. I guarantee you Dave Filoni does not stay up at night worried about what the YouTubers say about him and his storytelling ability. Because you know what? He's the only motherfucker that's got George Lucas on speed dial.
He don't know y'all exist.
So I'm sorry to tell you, your headcanon means shit. And it's a fake ass word and it's a cop out. And the people that invented that fake ass word should be ashamed of themselves. And the people that use it should continue to cry a little harder.
Objection. Headcanon used to be fun.
It did.
When it stops being fun, that's when you're cut off, bro. I will ban you so goddamn fast from mine. Like, I'm just done. It's a simple-minded argument. And it's like, goddamn, bro, why are you here? Do you even like Star Wars?
To the people that have lobbied for the retcon, the sequels, I hope you're ready to die on that rock. Right? I hope you're ready to die on that, because you have. Dave has just about solidified. Look, I don't really like the way it went down either, but we're there. So strap on your fucking whoopee, get your binky out, grab a nappy pod, and let's go cry a little more about it, because it's over, babe. It's over. The retcon is dead. They're never going to retcon this shit. So either get on board with the sequels or get the fuck out. And furthermore, to my final statement on this is, if you say I'm out, then be out. Don't continue to make the content saying I'm out. Fuck this shit.
Word is bond.
Please
be out.
Leave.
Hold your word. Look, Josh Den of Nerds was like, fuck Andor. I loved Andor. I thought it was bitching. He's like, fuck Andor. Fuck Disney for Andor. I'm not watching another frame of Andor and talking about it on my channel. I'll go on Nerd Theory because I'm doing it, but I'm not going to do it on my channel. And you know what?
Jedi Mike?
He held his fucking word and didn't have one piece of content about Andor when it was airing at all. So you know what? That dude gets an immense amount of praise from me because he holds his fucking word. At least he did what he said he was going to do, and he didn't backtrack and keep making content about it. Right? Like, I'm sorry. It's mean, but I'm sorry. This visceral shit because it's
Disney. It doesn't mean it does not real. It's not real. You sound like a fucking child. I have kids that don't say that shit.
I don't know if I'm in the right headspace.
I think
So, Matt,
obsession has
what did you like about the show?
all right. So we're going to change gears and we're going to get into Dan the Man's suggestion here. We're going to change gears because I want to get back to being happy. But yeah, we're going to get okay.
I will share my thoughts on the show, but Dan's been waiting very patiently.
This is for Dan. Okay, so Dan, this is Dan's proving me wrong, which I love it because I
watch
want people. I want people to do more homework than me. By the way, I want to be proven wrong because I do so much homework. You got to.
It never even occurred to me that this T6 shuttle was the same T6 shuttle from the Clone Wars. So we first saw this ship appear in Clone Wars Season 5 when Hu Yang helped Padawans build their first sabers.
The lightsaber is a Jedi's only true ally.
Now, I just assumed that Hu Yang's original shuttle was destroyed by the Empire and Ahsoka recovered a different one. But it turns out that Hu Yang has actually spent decades in this thing, hiding out from Vader and the Sith Inquisitors. Very cool, and my bad for not pointing that out before. I loved Hu Yang's bickering with Ezra here.
Is that it?
I believe so. I thought they showed a
So you have no. It's speculatory evidence at best. It's hearsay at worst. I'm sorry.
What are we trying to prove?
Shot down.
Hold on a second. What we're not gonna do is disprove because he didn't fucking show it. Obsession.
You show it. You gotta show me that shit in Clone Wars. You can't just be like,
yeah. And you know what, Obsession? If we're gonna play that fucking game, then I'm gonna tell you right now. Just because Rey's portal wasn't in the World Between Worlds doesn't mean it's gonna get a retcon. Okay?
Didn't they just show it?
This may be a perfect example of fun headcanon. I'm just saying.
Oh boy.
That's it.
Where's my fart gun?
You're banned. That's it.
Oh
Bring
my
my boy
God.
back, man. Let him just do
Well, look, I mean, look, if this is the reason I feel like the PR department at Disney
How
should.
did Matt end up there?
How'd
do
you
a
get
better
down
job.
there, man?
What happened? How did I get this is another reason I do think that that George Lucas wasn't much for coming out and doing interviews, but Favreau and Filoni seem to be more open to having dialogue with reporters and so on and so forth. I challenge Dave. I challenge Dave more than John to do more press, to answer fan questions, to let us in on some of the answer some questions, put some arguments to rest, right? You're the only one that can do it.
Go full James Gunn, bro.
No,
Just
I'm
send
not
it.
saying Twitter
Just send
attack.
it.
I'm not saying get in an argument with Den of Nerds and do that on Twitter. I'm
No,
not saying,
tweet pictures of their mom.
Oh my God.
Oh,
I want
Wow.
Dave Filoni to maybe do more press, maybe do more small interviews with some not mainstream media, with some not Daily Wire, with some not Variety and stuff like that, with some smaller content creators, just for the idea of putting some arguments to rest and giving us more information on where he's coming from. We don't need to know where you're going. Talk about stuff you've already done. Talk about this show. Talk about Mando. Talk about stuff you've already finished doing. You don't have to lead in and spoil what's coming, but more so answer some questions.
Bro, they might. Remember how open they were, like the roundtables they did for Mando?
Yeah.
Like we can get that. I'm waiting for that.
Yeah,
for this
those
show.
specials were great.
Yeah.
Hold up. You think George Lucas is going to show up in any of that kind of stuff ever?
I would hope so.
In a talk with
No,
That would be
creatives?
great.
No, I think
Because we only saw him that one glimpse where he showed up and he held
Yeah.
Grogu. Because we know he was there,
Well,
at
he
some
showed up
point.
for some Ahsoka stuff too, from what they said in the Jedi Apprentice stuff.
Yeah.
I thought they said that George showed up to set during Ahsoka
he did.
and was mesmerized by what he was seeing.
Didn't they also invite George out for the latest Indiana Jones movie
Yes.
too?
Yeah,
So,
and I think he went.
so George has been going to stuff. He's just not, being a part of the.
It would just, I think, help the fandom a lot to see direct consulting, a conversation he had, a suggestion he mentioned. The
Yeah, 'cause
Mortis, if
it's-
Mortis is where they're going, that's his thing too.
I-
So I'm just saying he got to get more involved.
If we
Maybe,
can just
maybe.
get to the end, because that is where the hype train is at.
Okay, well let's get to the end. So let's talk
Yeah.
about the ending. Now, where do you want to start? Do you want to talk about Thrawn making it home to Dathomir, or are we talking about just the Mortis
Let
god?
Dan start. Let Dan start. He's got something. I can see it.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Give me the hot seat. Give me the hot
Oh,
seat.
okay.
Let me get the.
Give him the seat.
I don't know.
I'm
How do I do
still-
that?
I got it.
I'll do it. Okay, you do it. You
One
kicked
button.
him.
I think I
One
kicked
button.
him.
Yes. All right, that's what I want. Okay, ladies and germs. So we all saw Thrawn make his way back to the main galaxy. Woo, woo. Where does he go? Dathomir. What's on Dathomir? Dead Knight Sisters. Now, Dan the man, your guy, I got your back, has a proposal that is probably a very much of a long shot, but I am hyped as hell for it. So we know that Thrawn's new plan, or his plan, is to resurrect those Night Witches and whoever else is in the ground, aka your girl Ventress, possibly Savage, and maybe Darth Maul. Now I know Maul isn't buried on Dathomir, which is where my theory comes in.
Malicos.
He's on Tatooine. So my theory is, what if in Star Wars Outlaws, which takes place between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, what if, as a side mission, Morgan Elsbeth tasks you or pays you to go and retrieve Maul's corpse from Tatooine, so to Dathomir, so he can get a proper burial, and that's your side mission, is to unearth him, to take his body from Tatooine and space travel all the way to Dathomir and help her bury him there, thus setting him to be possibly revived as Thrawn's army, with Savage, with Ventress, and the others as Thrawn's new army. That possibility has been running rampant since the show has ended, because I'm like, wait a minute, so Thrawn's really gonna, like, this is a thing, right? Dathomir, like, it's about to go down. So, and that's just one thing, just one. But if one, huh? Hated it. I knew Obsession was gonna say something about it. That was par for the course. But I'm sticking with that, man. Like, I think it's possible it might go down that way.
As much as I would love to see Maul again, the time frame that I want to see him is during the time we saw him in Solo, when he's leading that group,
Crimson Dawn.
the Crimson Dawn. Because here's the thing, like, I love the character, absolutely love the character, and the fact that he came back is incredible. And that was wildly crapped on right at the beginning, right? But Maul and the writing behind his character and the way he was handled proved himself. Like, it became an amazing comeback. So he eventually, his comeback was accepted. I think if he was to come back again, especially after finally falling to Obi-Wan, I don't think it would work well. Even though I love the character and want to see him, I don't want to see him now. I want to see him in Crimson Dawn.
Yeah, I think it's more like, honestly, I think your guys' pitch for Malicos is more realistic, because he is entombed in Dathomir, not necessarily pronounced dead, more so entombed.
About that guy.
So I feel like it's more likely to see the live action Malicos, even if it's just for a moment. You know, the Dathomir, like,
So
go ahead.
I will see your Malicos and your Darth Maul, but I'll push all in on the Zepho decaying corpse of Kujet.
Yes, give me that cookie.
They could literally bring an alien back to life. I also love the theory, because it aligns with my theory of Mount Doom happening over there, that all those coffins are actually Night Sisters. And
Yes.
the deal
That's
with
what I think they are.
Thrawn
Yes,
is
100%.
that you're rezzing us by bringing us back to our home
I
world.
genuinely like the theory.
So maybe they need the power of all of them to do some wild
I
shit
think
with the
I
other
think they need
body.
the power of their planet. The power of their planet was more
Yeah.
than just
Yeah.
it was like a nexus for
Yeah.
Mother Townsend, right? But I want to go one step further. I feel like Kujet in basically did what Ezra did. He trapped the Night Sisters there. Those three witches. Kujet
Mhm.
trapped them there. Like they went there thinking that he was going to be that he had a temple there. He had people doing stuff there. I think he trapped them there without a way to get back home, and then went to Dathomir, finished his life, and died there. So if anything, they're
Wasn't Dathomir populated by a lot of Night Sisters as well?
look at how
Oh,
many.
yeah.
So
there
how are
were.
you saying that he trapped them there, but they're still
No,
on Dathomir here?
just the powerful mothers, just the
Okay.
grandmothers, the three
Trapped the
mothers,
mothers. So,
and
I like that. Like those
like
three have
they
only
were.
been stuck there forever.
Yes, they
So
were.
but then the bodies, bro. But the bodies.
You don't go on an expedition to find something amazing and not take soldiers, right?
So they brought all of the Night Sisters' dead corpses from Dathomir to there.
No, they were alive.
They were probably alive,
when they left. They were all alive. They died on Peridia, and they
but couldn't
saved
be
their bodies
resurrected.
to bring them back to Dathomir to
But
take them
General
home.
Grievous slaughtered the whole.
That's what I'm
clan.
saying. You're messing up my timelines.
Yeah.
This is
So
before
the Night
this is
Sisters
before
started
Mother
in
Townsend.
Peridia.
No, the Night Sisters
They started in Peridia. That's what Morgan Elsbeth says. That's why this is so important, because
That's their homeworld.
the Night Sisters are not from our galaxy.
Right.
That's why that planet's so important.
And why are they trying to get away? If you're trying to get away from your home
That's why,
planet,
bro. Why are you
They're
trying to
get away from
There's
what
this cat.
Balin is
That's
after.
what I'm saying. We got to rewind to the beginning, because that's what I'm saying about these Night Sisters. They're not evil mothers like this, bro. They were nature. They were natural force users. Like, it wasn't a dark side magic that they were tapping into originally. So I think we'll get that deep history of them, where they came from. Mother Talzin is like a corruption of that. Like, if you really, you gotta read a goddamn book. I'm sorry.
Do you think it's Palpatine that corrupted her because they had a relationship at one point, and she taught him about the Dathomirian witchcraft, and that maybe is what corrupted her?
That's what we're kind of talking about now, is like, were they corrupted on that planet before they left? And
or was it Dathomir that corrupted
and
them?
then like corrupted it further? Or
I like that. Did Dathomir corrupt?
Because Dathomir is like,
I like that
pure dark side.
Well, Dathomir.
Yeah, see, like Stanley said, the OG Night Sisters used the space whales to travel travel to our galaxy.
That's what I'm saying. I like that. Did Dathomir's natural nexus of dark energy corrupt the Night Sisters, and that's what turned them dark?
This is the piece of the expanded universe that Dave can tap into that never has been. Like this, the past history stuff that can tie it all together. But I love if we get a resurgence of Dathomir and Night Sisters. Oh my god.
Well, I mean, I think that's what's in. See, I've been asking Hawks for days how he does his videos, his shorts. 'Cause they're so good and they're so much fun. Because I've been wanting to do the Brad Pitt from Seven, the What's in the Box, during that Night Sister. You know, when they pan, and there's just like hundreds and thousands
of crates.
Crates. It's just like,
I mean, they all look like coffins.
That's what I'm saying. I know that, but no, the Muggles don't know that. Right? They could be bombs, they could be minerals, they could be whatever. I know that, you know that, but I wanted to do the Brad Pitt. I watched it a couple times. It's like, no, what's in the box?
How cool is it that we actually have a legit threat that's not the Empire that we can actually debate and discuss about? Can we just sit on that for a minute?
Yeah.
We're talking about Kujet, space gods, Abeloth, Thrawn. This shit is what has been.
But this is my argument, Dan, is that the crying that was. This crying that has been going on for a decade, right? Over a decade, is now actually the brilliance of the company, because you can pick and choose what stories you want to use. You don't have a multiverse of dipshit, right? It's one timeline that they're like, ooh, Kujet, let's put his temple in Ahsoka. Ooh, the Night Sisters, let's put some of their shit in here. Ooh, do we grab Abeloth? Somebody grab Abeloth! Right? Like they're sitting here making a stew of Star Wars that is brilliant from the stories you guys love so much. Right? So the tears, the tears of these fans are feeding what's going on. You know, it's brilliance. It's sheer brilliance. Disney, that was a master stroke of the pen by the mouse.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was actually them fucking listening
Just
to
thinking
Dave
ahead.
and letting him cook.
Here's a big change that happened. In my opinion, one of the first huge changes that happened was Rogue One. And the majority of fans love Rogue One.
I think all Star Wars fans agree that Rogue One is probably the one film that everybody agrees on.
But you know what they changed and what they decanonized was Kyle Katarn.
Yes.
At stealing the Death Star plans. That's who took the Death Star plans and brought them to Leia and brought them to the rebellion. But the second Rogue One happened, that storyline from Dark Forces,
but no one cared because
no one cared,
because
right?
it was a book or a game but it was decanonized and okay to decanonize because they didn't need it.
Just to shift the conversation just a bit, I'm gonna bring up something that's in the terms of taking away Kyle Katarn. We got him back in the mix of Finn and Kanan Jarrus, aka Caleb Dune. Those characters have traits of Kyle Katarn, as well as I do believe that Shin Hati will now, instead of being Mara Jade, I am now on the Lumia train. That Shin will now be a problem in her own way for Ahsoka and Sabine and Baylan. She's going to be her own faction and do her own shit. Now you can actually introduce the real Mara Jade, not to be killed off, but to be what is this? To be a Luke's help.
I think I think that would be fun. I don't disagree with that idea. But I think I'm not sure if it would be. I still feel like those are Dathomirian bodies. I would like to see this be a thing that they could use against somebody like Luke but yeah, I don't really know. Look,
no objections to that last part either. I don't think they had to rename it Legends. They could have left it.
Yeah,
as
I think they could have just left it expanded universe. That would have been fine. It's because that's the thing. There were so many stories.
I mean, it's still considered that as a whole. That's
thank you, Peggy.
The rename really wasn't a big deal because there's so many stories out there that I'm sure contradict each other in many ways between the novels, the comics, and the games.
Right.
It does not all line up. It's not a smooth ride. So,
and that's the point of getting rid of it. That's the best part of getting rid of it. It's not Marvel. It's not Marvel that has to deal with the multiverse of comic books. It's not DC that has to deal with 45 years of different Aquamans and Supermans and Batmans and all this shit. Like Star Wars has a uniqueness to it that it doesn't multiverse. It doesn't sway from its timeline. And that's why the cry of retcon has been hilarious because the only way to retcon is to multiverse, right?
The most important thing to me is that the movies themselves and now the shows, that's what maintains canon. That's what maintains the story and the flow, the direction it's going in, what's come before, what's coming after. That's where it all is. Anything outside of that can be pulled from, which is what they're doing. And it's great because you can, like you said, you could pick and choose what elements you want to put in there and make characters be similar to characters from the expanded universe, have traits like them. Like I'd even take it further from what Dan was saying and even say Cassian Andor has traits like Kyle Katarn, that mercenary side. But the second we met Cassian in Rogue One of the first characters I thought of was Kyle Katarn in the original Dark Forces.
Right.
So it all kind of, you know what it is? It's kind of like poetry. it all kind of
Right.
rhymes
Well,
and it comes together.
And here's the thing: is that
Slippery
look,
slope, Matt Caves.
I know.
the idea that it's just the idea of a multiverse, the idea of changing what's already been done. That's a Marvel and a DC thing,
Mhm.
right? That's not a Star Wars thing. And honestly, there's been so much negativity. I mean, even the girl that played young Ahsoka caught a bunch of shit, right?
Which sucks because she did a great job.
Dude, it was so good.
Look,
It was
I'm
so good.
Not her.
would I have loved if Ashley Eckstein played that part? Yes, obviously yes. But you know what? She didn't need to. That was the thing. Like I bet Ashley was thrilled at that girl's performance. I don't know, but I would imagine she was very happy with it. I saw a little thing about her finally meeting Rosario Dawson, and
Right.
they like just praising each other and so happy about the direction the character's going and what was done with it. It's just there's a lot of positivity that happens behind the scenes that the people that are complaining the most are not paying attention to. Because
And look, I mean, the problem, and I've said this before, the problem is expectation.
Mhm.
You expect a certain thing and you don't get it, right? And that's where your anger really comes from. The people that are the most angry are the people that are still salty on the Disney acquisition. Well, guess what? It's a decade old.
They're
So
also very uneducated.
You're
Don't forget that part's very important.
your salty tears are so old, and the pot is so
Old,
filled with
right,
those salty
uneducated.
tears that it doesn't matter anymore, right? And you're just really you're losing out. I mean, there was a lot of bitch. I mean, just in the finale, just in this in the last 45 minutes, which I told everybody was bonus. The whole point of the show was to find Ezra, right? They found Ezra. Mission accomplished. You got your entire show. Now, this whole episode was bonus material. This was like
Oh shit, dude, you pissed off Anthony, YouTube fan. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. I saw it. He'll be
Oh.
okay. But ultimately, this show was as accurate and as good as it's probably ever going to be. Right? Like, this show was as close to a no hitter as you're going to get. Right? Even with my
For a lot of people.
even with my stale ass arguments about saber training and all of this, the little things that I don't like, this show is as close as to a no hitter you're going to get. So if you can't even get on board with this, then you do need to step away.
Yeah, no,
because you're going to be real disappointed in everything always. And I think the people that don't like it are want to be disappointed.
The fact that Ezra is even back to train our boy Jason, that shit is massively hype. Like, how can you not be ecstatic at the fact of a Ezra and Luke team up? It's a possibility. I don't want to hear that Ezra's existence, this strips the process of what Luke would. No, fuck that. Ezra is a good character. Him and Luke can't sustain. Shut your mouth when you're talking to me. Let's get it going.
I gotta get some of these voices for my stream, bro.
I am more excited for the fact that so I'm more excited in the fact that the only person to ever outplay Thrawn was Ezra. That's what I'm more excited about. And I think that's the best part of the end of the episode. And I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't watch the shows live anymore, especially this show, because this show has me hyper emotional. Ezra talking to Hera's face when she saw Ezra, I fucking melted, right? Luke standing, or Anakin standing there watching Ahsoka at the end of the episode, the crack of the smile has me emotional, right? The sacrifice, right? Sabine could have made it, right? The sacrifice to do the right thing, poetry, right? And Ezra being the one to go home to fight Thrawn again is the key. I think that's what people are missing. He's the only one to best Thrawn ever. On a constant level too. Kanan and Ezra were constantly a thorn in the paw of the lion that was Thrawn in the Empire, right? When he showed up, it was like, fuck, a T-Rex is here.
Fuck, Thrawn's here. Fuck.
Don't move.
That's exactly how it was, but not with those two. Those two were like, oh, Thrawn's here. All right, let's ruin his day, right? Like it was a constant thing, and the fact that Ezra's the chess player that he is back to lead the New Republic against Thrawn is great, because he even said, even I fell to a single Jedi. Even I fell trapped to their bullshit. So
Until he reveals the Mara Jade contingency plan.
Right.
But look, my next question, chat, feel free to chime in. Do you think there are more Balin scenes that they saved for a potential season 2 instead of a recast?
A part of me hopes that isn't the case, because I do want to see Balin's story continue with the recast, particularly Leaf Schreiber. But if it is, then I would love to see that, because I heard Balin was supposed to bathe in the waters or something to get possessed. He was supposed to do other shit. Now, if they did that, cool. But I need more Balin to be in there with the rest.
That's a good casting. Khan Weary.
Oh, that would be awesome. Yeah, she yeah. Leaf Schreiber, that would be great.
Right?
I was very concerned with tell you what, if we could take a minute, if I could share my thoughts on this series overall, because I have some I guess we can call it negative points about it.
You were doing so well.
He keeps looking down, Chad. Does he have a list? He's got a long list, Chad.
It's gonna get spicy.
Oh shit.
Listen, if Twitter has broken the Matt Cave, I'm done.
No,
it hasn't broken me. But
Matt Cave, do I need to make some more steak?
Oh yeah, you might need a meal for this one.
Shit.
Tee it up, Buttercup.
I think some of my concerns are on almost like a technical side of things, as far as the actual creation of the show and filming and things like that. Certain elements of that, but then there are some things I'm very concerned as far as how this story was handled. And I mentioned earlier, I'm bringing two perspectives to the table here. One, mine, being a sweaty fan and knowing all of these things that are being referenced in the show and getting all of the subtle things that someone who's not neck deep in it won't get.
For sure.
I sat down and watched this whole series each week with my wife. Mm-hmm. Now, she knows some stuff about Star Wars, because obviously she's married to me and I don't stop talking about it. So she just gets bombarded with that. But what I did was I found a recap video, like a short recap video before we watched the show, of just kind of explaining who Ahsoka is, what happened in Clone Wars, what happened in Rebels, and specifically the Mortis arc. Now, I was going into this just with assumptions of what this show was going to do and what they were going to show us. So I was like, here's some things that I think you might want to have in the back of your mind as you go into this. The show did take directions that I didn't expect, and some things weren't explained. And there were many times where we paused and I explained a couple of things of what was going on.
Stand by.
Standing by.
You don't say that. Okay? You don't say that.
That's part of my complaint also.
I know. That's why I said
it's so. As far as the story points and explaining what we were seeing and what was being said or even not said in the show, when it was all said and done, I asked my wife, I said, let me ask you, if I didn't show you any of the things I showed you before we watched this, would you have followed along with this show and understood what was going on? Her response was, yes, but I wouldn't be picking up the Easter egg things you were talking about. I would just be catching the things that was literally on the surface. Mm-hmm. Oh, there's something that guy wants, referring to Balin. Right. Something is guiding him somewhere. We'll find out whatever that is later. Oh, an owl showed up. That's weird, but maybe we'll find out what that is later. Okay, there's these people that were part of the Ghost crew. They know each other. They're like a family. I get it. You know, all these like things that are very surface level. She actually said if they would have explained all of this and took a bunch of time to really go in depth, she said she wouldn't have enjoyed it that much because it would have been like watching a documentary about it, like telling you, like shoving it down your throat, like this is what you need to know. I'm like, that's really interesting because I know all this already, so I'm getting a different take on it, but not knowing it, you're in the mystery side of it and wanting to know what's coming next. Like, who is that owl? What was that? What do those statues mean? Who's calling Balin? What is it? Opens up questions that are exciting and fun to want to know. So I was like, okay, this is very interesting to see it from a different perspective of who's getting right off the surface level. Now, my concern, knowing all the things I knew, I actually would have wanted a little bit more, not everything jammed in to explain, but just a little bit something to kind of guide you a little more and explain what this was. Because overall, I considered this Rebels season 5.
Yes.
Like this was a direct continuation of Rebels, hands down. And it falls into that trap of stop naming your shows and movies the title character. Stop doing that. You confine yourself in a box, and then you can't tell stories about other characters because then everyone will go nuts and complain.
Oh, you mean the Sabine show?
The Sabine show. I thought Sabine was great.
That's another content creator scratched out the Ahsoka and put the Sabine.
Put the Sabine show. I thought there was definitely a lot of Ahsoka, but she wasn't in it as much as I think she needed to be for the sake of the show being called Ahsoka. Now, speaking of Sabine, my other concern is actually how much she used the Force. Now, here's the thing, though. I have a positive side to this as well, because everyone I keep the little bits of the complaints I have seen going around the the interwebs. Everyone's comparing her to Rey. And I'm like, no, you're 100% wrong. This is a completely different situation. And here's why. It's because Sabine has been training for a very long time. But that brings me back to, I wish they would have explained a little more behind that. Because Rey just started doing everything out of nowhere. And that was the biggest complaint.
But that's that bloodline.
That's the blood, which we eventually get explained, right?
Well, people just didn't like the factors that were introduced.
Sabine, after all these years of training, still struggled, and it took a life or death moment to fully, like, just for her to pull the saber. Like, very similar to Luke. Luke was still struggling pulling the lightsaber, but he was hanging from an ice cave.
And if people think that Sabine in her spare time was not still trying to move cups and other things, like, you're crazy.
That's the thing.
She
was working on it.
But Ahsoka says the right thing, right? So there's a moment where they're having this conversation where she says, "Look, you're in your head. Like, this isn't about what's inside of you. This isn't about, your physical ability. It's in here. You train the mind trains the body follows the course." She's literally telling her, you're getting in your own way. Like, stop overthinking this. Stop thinking and do, right? It's that same do or do not. It's the same. It's that, stop. Don't think, just do. It's that Top Gun Maverick thing, right? Don't think, just do, right? And that's what she's having a hard time with. So yeah, Maria didn't like it. We talked very, very, very briefly about it.
First of all, get out. And second of all, it's nice to see you.
Get out of here!
Before you go, Maria, I still want to audition for your stuff, please.
Please don't lump me in with these crazy assholes.
So
what else, Matt?
The other concern was more on the technical side of it.
Wait, because I wanted to say one thing about the no offense, casual, but you're trying to educate her. That's what I want everybody to do. When we start to talk about, like, the difference between super sweaty fans and casual fans, you start to break down like the views that shows get, the sweatier that shit is, you start to go towards like super niche. Like we're talking anime, bro. Like Star Wars is not that. It's always been wildly accepted by a general audience. They're still trying to capture that magic while staying true to the sweaties. Like you're not going to get
That's what I
that.
was talking about a minute ago, is that there's some people that are like, I
You want
shouldn't
that
have to watch
anime
a
Star Wars.
cartoon. I shouldn't have to watch a cartoon to understand more of what's going on. And it's like, tough
But
luck.
that's the thing that Matt's wife
read
is
a-
proving, is that you don't need to. She's
But do you read a-
enjoying it.
Right. But my
And
point is,
they're
like,
trying to present it to a general audience. That's all I'm saying. They're not presenting it to the guy who's upset about who's riding the horseback in what direction.
Right.
Like
I didn't even know about that until tonight.
Oh yeah, it was a thing. The force is female. Star Wars is dead. Thanks a lot.
I
Dave
think
Filoni.
that I mean, a lot of like points of view of stuff like that I think was just inevitable, so I just didn't bother looking for any of it because I'm just
what are you implying, that views went down? What?
I keep seeing.
People
I
don't
saw a
watch
thing
that kind of
today.
content? Are
I
you
saw
kidding
a
me?
thing today. Somebody, I don't even know what it was. It was talking about over the what the heck is that program that rates the show, the views for shows, the family name thing. I forget.
Talking about the LiDAR or the NASDAQ or whatever the hell it is. Yeah, sure.
Well, I don't know. Whatever the thing is that counts the views and who's the viewership overall.
The Nielsen.
The Nielsen stuff, right?
Oh.
It was saying that it was going down. I'm
The
like,
one that they
well,
present their statistics to.
yeah, and I was like, well, of course it's going down. The show ended. I mean, doesn't that happen to every show? It goes down at the end.
Okay, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again because everybody seems to forget their history, right? Number one, first and foremost, George Lucas lost money making Star Wars. You can say what you want. The movies, sure, they made money because it's box office, but the stuff that he did that really solidified a lot of it that people still call George Lucas Star Wars was Clone Wars. Clone Wars lost money, and a lot of money, to the point where it basically bankrupted Lucasfilm and George Lucas, to where he felt he needed to sell to Disney because he was almost out of money.
Well,
and
a lot of people forget that Clone Wars got canceled. And had to be picked back up to finish even the 6th season, right? So the idea that Star Wars has to make money, or that it has to be the top rated show all the time, is not a fact, right? They don't need to be. Star Wars doesn't need to be. It's always going to be there. It's always going to survive because there's so much nostalgia in people like Santa that hate the prequels but love the sequels. There's always going to be people that love the prequels and hate the sequels. There's going to be people that only love the OT. But the merchandise and the entire Star Wars over generations, it's not going to go away because you stopped liking it, or because a show didn't meet the expectations you expected it to, or the media expected it to. Maybe Disney's perfectly fine with their streaming platform doing the numbers that it's doing to begin with, right? So you're comparing apples to oranges when you don't even know how to make fruit.
Well, and the other thing too is I see a lot of people all the time. They take specific creatives or people who have been brought on to create these projects. They have their own worldview, and people are taking to heart things they're projecting about their worldview. Like, just because I have a different perspective of the world doesn't mean that when I express it, it's shunning your perspective of the world. Like, I don't know when we stopped as humans being open or sympathetic to the human experience, but like, not to sound like a whiny little bitch, but being a human is fucking hard. And if anybody, anywhere, any background can relate to characters, and they're bringing in a very diverse cast of creatives, like, it's not all for you. That doesn't mean that it's not for you. Like, it just, the people are so cut and dry with this stuff. This, like, the main example is the Force is female, bro. It's male too. Like, they're not saying it's not. Why is that so goddamn triggering to you?
Well,
Like, if I hear another person argue that case, Like
It-
that's so
but look,
surface level. Like, are we
unfortunately,
not deeper than that? And as a human race, do we not come from like the 1960s through to the 80s, like hard drug epidemics that are still affecting our youth right now, dude?
but at
I
the
live in
same
the
time,
outer rim, and opioids out here, bro. Like compared to inner city shit, the opioids out here in the Farmville, like it, we live in a different time now, bro, and people aren't sympathetic to that. It is.
but at the same time, point of view is everything, right? And I
Don't be
understand
so sheltered.
that some people don't want to like something for whatever reason. Fine. But at the same time, the fact that these companies may not care about the ratings that the public expect them to get. Well, Ahsoka,
Ahsoka did worse than Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Boba Fett did worse than that.
they may not care because they're still getting X amount of viewers on their streaming platform. This isn't the days of cable. So if you're going off of Nielsen ratings, where those ratings were directly linked to advertisers, right? Because however many views or whatever or hours watched or whatever the fuck the metric was during the 80s and 90s and the early 2000s, but streaming was a thing, those numbers mattered. Those numbers don't matter anymore. You know who has cable TV that the Nielsen ratings actually get a representation of? Fucking old people. Okay, people that don't know how to use streaming platforms.
Wheel of Fortune's on that
Okay,
list.
so
Love
so
Wheel of Fortune.
I understand that the Nielsen ratings and this and that, but ultimately that doesn't matter to a company that got, how many views did it get? How many? What's the shit number that everybody's talking about?
The number is
no idea.
ridiculous. It doesn't matter. It's so high.
What, give me a ballpark number of how many views or the whatever they're called. Like, what's the chat?
For
Feel free-
Ahsoka,
throw it in.
it was
Yeah.
like 14 million or something.
That
in
means
one
they have
week.
14 million people that subscribe at $15 a month. Do your math. They don't give a shit about what the rating scale says when they have your $14.95 already. You've already bought in. And for everybody that's like,
That's it. Fuck it, I'm canceling Disney Plus. This is this bullshit. It's not worth it for every one of you.
there's 100 that are coming in. Right?
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
True.
Like
So
your
they don't care. Go ahead, Dan.
your contributions in the grand scheme of things does not matter. Like you can't go into this movie experience
1
or
in 12. Holy
pop
shit.
culture.
1 in 12. That's nothing, dude. That's what I'm saying. The numbers are total bullshit. Thank you,
I don't
Miranda.
even know what. Yeah, no. There's this. I think we just need to realize that people, when you are talking about people that claim the force is female and this, that, and the third, folk, you're talking to people that can't be argued or that are stuck in this one box of thinking that they're not going to want to see your views.
But
Yeah, people should be sympathetic. Matt's sympathetic. Obsession sympathetic. I'm sympathetic because we're reasonable fucking people.
but at the same
The
time,
rest of the world, unfortunately, just don't work that way.
well, but at the same time, look, I am all about the argument, right? I enjoy the spirit of debate. I enjoy being wrong more than anything. Like you said, some people can't be reasoned with, right? They want to seed their mind with negative and hate. Do you, right? All I'm saying is don't use science against me in a debate, right? Don't use the Nielsen argument when it's a 12. First of all, for those of you that don't know what the Nielsen is, it used to be a device that was in all cable boxes that the Nielsen analytics department could scale and read how many viewers on a Friday night were watching Alf, right? This is what it was for, so that the advertisers could figure out where they wanted to dump their money, what time slots, what commercial breaks, yada, yada, yada. That has gone to the wayside. And now, like Maria's saying, you have to install an app that you're invited to that lets the Nielsen know that you're viewing. It's a 1 in 12 people that get invited. Regardless of that, this metric no longer matters.
It barely mattered when it was around because even then it was limited. It wasn't everyone. It was, again, kind of like an invited thing, and you were kind of selected. And that selection process, I'm sure, was skewed in some way.
Oh, if you had
Because-
a Nielsen box, you ran the world.
Yeah.
Dude,
Even Family Guy made fun of it.
dude, like the Nielsen box was a thing in the 80s and 90s. Like if your box was getting monitored, it was a thing, right? And you didn't know. Here's another thing. Disney doesn't release their metrics because they don't want you to know how much money they're really making on this shit.
Mm-hmm.
Number one. So they're not going to tell you nothing. Number two, they've got your money. So cancel if you want. It doesn't matter. Your cancel Disney campaign only makes them more money because any advertising is good. There's no such thing as bad advertising. So you're giving them air. So by you not mentioning their name, by you taking their name and not doing any more content on this platform does more to silence Disney and to canceling Disney than you bitching about them for hours on end and making money off them. So pick which
Nobody in here can lie right now and say they have never seen a YouTube video where that certain person that you disagree with was like, man, I hated this. And you're like, oh, I'm going to have to go watch that right now.
Right.
You get curious about it. I look at it this way. Like if you, there's nothing wrong with disliking something.
Nothing.
But if you're interested in seeing something, don't let anyone else's point
I
of view.
disagree with
skew
your
it.
disagreement of my disagreement. How about that? Cancel me.
It's one of those things that some people are able to. I wouldn't even say the word argue. I would say debate or discuss points of views, and then it's about because the world would be so boring if we all thought the same way and everything. It would just be a boring
Have you
mess.
ever been around a bunch of people that are just like you ever in your life?
That would suck.
Dude, it's
awful.
It's so boring.
Yes, men are the worst.
Look, cancel me. I don't give a shit. I'm a nobody.
Cancel obsessed.
Okay, I don't give a shit. Right? That looks like cancel OBS, which I agree with too, because I don't use that.
Oh man.
But look, I mean, ultimately, if you think that Disney stock is down, I'm buying some because it's down. And you know why I'm buying some? Because Apple's going to acquire that shit and I'm going to get paid. So go ahead. I agree. Disney may get sold to Apple. And if that happens, great. Doesn't mean that they're going to stop making Disney content. It just means that Apple has more facilities to make their shows in. But if you really want to see the demise of Disney, stop talking about them.
It's just like the people that when you get the trolls that are out there that are just looking to get you riled up, right?
Yeah, and they're there.
You're fueling them by reacting to it.
Exactly.
So it's just like the whole thing of saying like if you really want to hurt Disney, ignore them. Ignore the trolls. Like I know that with things like what we do and people put themselves out there on the internet or TV or movie, whatever it may be, right? Obviously, you're going to be open up to not only feedback and comments, but there's going to be criticism, both positive, negative. There could be constructive, or it can just be people just saying something to piss you off on purpose. It's those ones that I see it all the time with people I know and people I don't know, where I'm like, I'll see something come in, like a certain comment, and I'm like, don't.
That's bait.
That's what I'm saying. I just sit there and I'm like, that's all I hope for. It's like, just ignore it.
Yeah,
just
it's hard.
Ignore it. And it is hard. It's incredibly hard because it beats you down.
Well, because
over time.
we as humans think that our opinions.
That comment, you take your finger, introduce it to this little mouse right here.
There's a little red X next to it. You just get rid of it.
I see that. Even that.
It's at Scotty Hawk on YouTube. I'm not ignoring you. Come hang out. I'm not ignoring you. Come hang out.
But here's the thing. Nobody likes being wrong. That's the thing. I enjoy being wrong. Look, that you learn more.
I
from
can't
losing.
tell sometimes if people are trolling or not. I can't.
Well,
I got questions.
You know what?
Right now,
sense of humor is very difficult.
Please, no, speak on it
in text form.
I got questions about a comment in the chat. I can't tell if he's trolling or not.
You talking about
that guy that said he's trolling?
This Anthony YouTube?
Yeah, can't tell if he's trolling or not.
No, but look, here's another thing though. But here's another complaint. So this is another complaint I saw. Thrawn used the word Ronin.
I'm gonna just sip my tea.
Okay. Thrawn used the word Ronin, and Ronin is something from our verbiage, and are there Ronin in the Star Wars universe? So they're like, well,
Thrawn confirmed he called her it.
No, but what
So-
I'm saying, that's what the complaint was, is like, that's a us word, and that's
That's an us word. That's not a them word. That's not a stop.
Oh,
It's an us word. And
What
they-
the fuck?
shouldn't
That
have used
sounds
it. You should have
mildly racist.
Rogue Jedi without master. Just like they can the ship names. It's just Thrawn Starship. It's not the Chimera anymore. They should do the same thing. They should just be like, oh,
Did they rename the ship?
The
Oh, okay.
Chimera. is
You're
still
scaring me.
But my point being is that they shouldn't sit here and say, oh, well, he can't use the word Ronin. Okay, then he should have been like, hello, former Jedi whose master abandoned them. Like, does it have to be this long-winded thing to satisfy your
Didn't we
need?
just have the anime thing about a Ronin
I mean,
Jedi
again,
that was
that's
like
not-
incredibly praised?
that's not canon, bro. If it was canon, it might be a thing, but it's not canon.
I don't know. It's you know it is. It's these things are going to land differently for everybody, right? This
And the
whole
strokes
series,
for different
the
folks.
whole thing,
He's
not all of it landed for me, to be honest. Like
say it with your chest, bro.
I enjoyed it overall,
Jesus.
but some of it I just kind of there were moments in this show
Yeah.
where even I was like,
fuck. God damn, it's getting there. Let's dial this heat down, baby. What we doing?
It's great, dude. Look, I love heat. I love
I
the
want to
spirit.
dial it up.
I love the
wanna dial
spirit
it
of
up so
debate.
bad on
To be
people.
honest, dude, I love being wrong. I have paid
I
out
told you all
money.
last week. I'm ready to wear a mask.
I've told other people, I've given other people money that I've lost bets on in Star Wars. I'm all about the spirit of debate.
yeah,
I
it's
don't
not
like
about
when
changing
people-
someone's mind. It's about
not.
understanding their point of view.
But
Right.
It is.
you don't have to personally attack people. Damn, I can't believe that wasn't on the whole time. You can't personally attack people like Dave Filoni's wife and then want to have a spirited debate, right? So I guess that's the thing, is once you personally attack somebody, the conversation's over, right?
Well,
So
yeah, because
the-
then you went from something that was supposed to be fun to personal.
right,
Why
and
are you making
that's
sure-
what everybody takes every argument personal. I use examples. I don't say names. I use examples of titles I see scrolling across YouTube. I use tweets that I see rolling across YouTube. I never use names because I never attack people personally. If you happen to know what videos and content that I'm talking about, that's a different perspective. But I never go after another streamer directly. I go after the ideas that they are spitting. There's a
But
difference.
you have to make sure you are saying that, like in
No,
your debate, because if you don't, people are going to assume that shit.
Assume away. I'm just saying, when I put a specific title or say a specific video or a tweet or something that I see, it's not an attack on the people, it's the attack on their idea. And if you can't tell the difference, that's on you, not me.
Bruh.
I think the ability for people to debate is a lost art.
Oh, it's so
it
hard.
is.
Let me
It
ask.
is.
Yeah.
Let me ask this out
No
to
civil
chat. If
discourse.
anyone happens to know, because back in our day, as old
That part.
fogies, in school, there were debate clubs. I was never in any, but I've been in the audience.
That's because when I was
Do a
young,
debate.
I used to take everything too personal, so I'd like sock them in the middle of the debate, and it just
Yeah, there was a
But
time
it's-
frame. Eventually, you got cut off. No one's cut off on Twitter. They just
Yeah,
But
go.
is that like? Is
Yeah.
that still a
Debate club
thing?
even
Like,
a
is that
thing
even
in space.
allowed in society anymore?
you have 2 minutes
Right.
for your argument. Go ahead, School of Unorthodox.
But that,
Okay,
you know
so-
what? That was a good thing though, because they do their homework first and they prepare for this debate, right? Twitter
Here's-
and all this is just an open, just vomit anything out.
Here's a perfect example of right here. Maria says, I just fundamentally hate the idea of Sabine being a Jedi. We had two, plus Anakin, plus former Jedi Balin, plus Padawan Shin. It's an oversaturation of it. And
If
I
there's
am
no
going
Jedi,
to
they fucking cry. If there's too many Jedi, they fucking cry.
and I love you, Maria, but I will respectfully disagree because Dan loves all the Jedi. Bring all that shit in here.
I'll even throw in that she's not a Jedi.
I mean,
She's-
she's not even.
Just
a
because
Padawan.
Neither is Ezra.
just because they
Holy
use
crap! Guess
lightsabers-
what? Luke was barely a Jedi. I said it.
I said, oh shit, he
I
said,
said
it.
it.
Oh, he went there. He went there.
Luke was not a
Shouldn't have said
Jedi until the very end of
Yes.
Return of the Jedi,
Right.
because Yoda determined it to be so as his final test was to face Vader. And
Yeah.
he was not a Jedi.
I-
He didn't get the title until he accomplished that.
Well, I mean, actually, you can fundamentally say when he throws his lightsaber away, ultimately, that's when he chooses the path of peace over violence. That's the moment he truly becomes a Jedi.
Yeah.
But I mean, whatever the case is,
And Jedi is like so there's a difference between force sensitive and a Jedi.
correct.
A Jedi is a title. That's something you earn. That's something you become.
Well, I mean, even in Mando during this time frame, they even talk about, well, you're a Force user.
Mhm.
Oh, you know how to use the Force. Like it's not like Jedi are a rarity. There are people that have abilities. They more talk about abilities than anything.
Well, because I think what the misconception happened in such a large mass was that people seem to think Order 66 wiped out every force sensitive person out there. And I'm like, that's literally impossible.
Yeah.
To think
Careful,
that is
Anthony's gonna write you a book.
insane. It's insanity. There are how many planets in that galaxy alone with how many millions of force sensitive beings? They weren't all in that temple. They weren't all in that particular battle where the clones were. Yes, people were hunted and force sensitives were continued to be hunted. What happened was the already Jedi, the people who were Jedi and earned that, were Jedi Knights, Jedi Masters, the Council, all that, they were the primary first targets and they were taken out.
Well, their argument there is more so of Yoda's line in Return of the Jedi.
Exactly.
But that's exactly what he's saying, is that there were no Jedi left in his book. Yoda was the last of the true Jedi.
Yeah, the people who got there that made it to Jedi.
Like he can feel Ezra. Ezra's not really a Jedi. He was never
everyone
knighted.
Everyone who uses that line, they're like, oh, there's too many because Yoda said, when gone am I, the last of the Jedi will you be? I'm like, okay, that's great. And then he also tells Luke, pass on what you've learned.
Right.
Well, if there's no more left,
no more.
Who the heck is he passing it on to?
Right.
He even says there's in the previous movie that there is another. Debates were made on whether it was Leia or not, but clearly it's.
But ultimately, look, it's speaking of Sabine specifically, the fundamentals were there in Rebels to show that she had an innate ability, right? And they kind of solidify that during Mando. They kind of add an exclamation point when the man is wielding the darksaber like a sledgehammer, right? And Paz Vizsla same way, a descendant of Tar Vizsla, can't handle the darksaber either because it's like a sledgehammer, right? And the woke friends would say, well, Bo-Katan and Sabine, they're both women, the Force is female, there you go, they can handle it better. But ultimately, Sabine trained with the darksaber, she felt the weight, she got comfortable with it to use it in battle. Dave laid the breadcrumbs potentially for Sabine to be Force sensitive. His decision to do so, to me, just shows that she kind of always had this gift, if you will, but not like Ezra, right? And they even say it over and over. I don't have it like Ezra. No, but you don't have to be. The metric of I mean, Ahsoka's not even a Jedi. She was never knighted. Ezra was never knighted. The last knighted Jedi was Kanan, right? So
actually, not even Kanan. He was
no,
still
he did I mean, technically by the Inquisitor, by the Grand Inquisitor in the
yes, at that point, yeah,
right. So none of these people are knighted. They're just Force users. They just have the ability to use the Force. It's not necessarily it's not an all or none, right?
Sabine is a create your own character type of person. She's everyone's, ideal create your own character Star Wars. She's a Mandalorian with a laser sword, with the guns, with the helmet. Like, she is that person, and there is nothing wrong with that. Like, you can have a character like Sabine exist in the same realm a little green man with funny ears who knows the Force of decades of training can do. This is fucking fantasy. Why are we arguing about women having the Force or green aliens having the fucking Force? Why is
You
this a
know,
discussion?
I find it really peculiar because I think a majority of Star Wars I think a majority of Star Wars fans agree that one of the biggest tragedies of the sequels was them cock blocking Finn. Now we're arguing Sabine.
Right. I do think there's a lot of gatekeeping that goes on with this also. I think the
Yeah.
fact that you didn't grow up in a temple or you weren't trained by a Jedi master, that you're not part of the fan club, right? You're not a Palpatine, you're not a Skywalker, you're not part of the
Not connected enough.
you're not part of the great lineage. You're just
Yeah.
one of the kids on the
whole
farm that's
point
hanging
of
out,
The
right?
Last
And
Jedi was to show that you don't, before the Rise of Skywalker, was that you don't need that shit to be a Jedi. Granted, they did go back in the Rise of Skywalker and she was a Palpatine, but
yeah,
or even Qui-Gon's thing about mini chlorians living in everybody. It's for everyone. It's
right.
not just Palpatines and Skywalkers,
but it's not. But look, it's not necessarily. It's not like they created a new character for this show, like Shin, and it was a new character that nobody had heard of. Sabine has some background. Sabine has trained with Kanan. Even Ezra makes a joke. I love that. So that's another thing I want to get into. But even Ezra makes a joke about it. And the same joke that well, that's not entirely true.
Strike, you're out of your mind. Kanan
you-
Jarrus. Listen to the words coming out of that man's mouth.
If you
bro.
watch that episode again, specifically, you hear her talk about the lightsaber.
No one
getting
cares
lighter,
about,
right?
They just want to trigger everybody.
But ultimately, the idea of Sabine being force sensitive doesn't have to take away from anybody, right? That's the thing, is that if it's diluted, then there would be 100 Jedi on screen. But like we're saying, she's not even in that realm. If you really look around the room, there's only one Jedi in the entire galaxy. There's one. Luke Skywalker is the only fucking true Jedi in the galaxy. Ahsoka, if you want to go by Balin's illustration of it, they're Boken Jedi, which I translate to broken Jedi, right? So then you have Ahsoka, Sabine, Ezra. Then you have, who else is out there? Oh, Cal Kestis, right? Grogu, right? We have all of these Boken Jedi. They're not Jedi. So why is it diluted if there's only one? Right? If there's only one dude that's truly trained and all powerful, how is it diluted? Right? The obviously, the force is out of balance in general right now. Is Palpatine alive? Is his power dominant? Is Snoke alive? Ben Solo hasn't turned yet. Jason Syndulla. Should the next generation not have force users at all? Should Jason Syndulla not be force sensitive? Should Ben Solo not be force sensitive? Should the Jedi and the Force Arch just be dead at this
I love
point?
how you capitalize "but," dude. You ignore the words right before that. That is Star Wars. The Force will find its vessels. Literally, everybody can connect to it.
Who
Like,
says that
people got to get over
Han
that
Solo
shit.
doesn't have a force ability?
We said
right?
that. Yes, Han Solo, perfect example.
Who's our
People
other
are
guy?
fine with that.
Our other pilot,
Poe Dameron,
right? Who's to say Wedge, because he was a great pilot, didn't have a little bit of force ability. It doesn't mean that they can use the force like us Jedi that we've seen, like Luke and them, and lift rocks and force project or whatever force ability. It just
hope
says,
you come up with some good, interesting characters I want to hear about.
That would, if Thrawn had the force, then then nobody's special.
What
right?
the fuck, dude? If anyone can see, this is what I don't get. Like, how can you sit back and have open discourse about all this shit about the dark side and have there's different dark side aspects, but when you go into a character who you don't deem worthy, that shouldn't have the force,
and that's it. It's just gatekeeping. That's how I feel about it. It's just gatekeeping.
Let me throw a hypothetical out there, because I think this will kind of make this a little clearer. If no one else can be accepted as being able to tap into the force and use it, then what about let's imagine the sequels didn't happen for a moment. Let's pretend the sequels don't exist.
Oh, you just made all these fans happy. Go ahead.
Right? Okay, so I'm about to piss them off. So sequels didn't happen, right? And we still have expanded universe stories that involve Luke. And we have, let's talk about the Jedi Academy game. and Luke is rebuilding the academy,
Right.
teaching new students, right? But if the idea is that others can't have the Force unless you're somehow specifically chosen by the Force somehow, or whatever this is, how does Luke get new students? How do we get that new academy? How do we bring any of it back? How does Luke pass on what he has learned?
How is there
that
a goddamn
possible?
story that balances?
How is there? Should Star Wars be over at the end of Return of the Jedi? Should that just be it, and we close the door and no more stories that go beyond that?
No,
date?
but if it's not from George
Nope.
Lucas,
Yeah,
it
just
doesn't-
this,
it doesn't
just this
exist.
galaxy.
Right.
But you know what? There's all these stories in the novels that people praise. George Lucas wasn't involved.
Exactly. That's a great.
There were some things that had to go through approval processes, but it would be minor things. This wasn't. There were so many independent stories that are out there, and those stories take some of the stuff that we thought we knew from the original trilogy and really go deep, and it changes the way you look at these things. But if we limit the ability of the Force, and if we limit who can use it, then the whole idea of having a new academy is done. We can't do that. According to those rules, we are not allowed to have Luke's new academy. We can't have anyone's new academy because Luke's the only Jedi.
Yeah.
And that's it. The Jedi are going to die.
Well, and he has to have little baby Skywalkers so that the Force can continue, because if you're not a Skywalker or a Palpatine, it doesn't really matter.
It's
right. And
because it's not about, like, just because the Force runs through everything doesn't mean that everyone can just go, oh, you know what, I'm going to use the Force today.
Right.
It's not how it works. It takes a lifetime, a dedication of learning.
And just because this person used the two most basic abilities, pull and push, the first two abilities every video game teaches you first, because every little baby child youngling learns those two abilities first. So she uses pull to get her lightsaber, and then she barely uses push to throw Ezra onto that ship. I mean, he's like Mario falling down. He's like, his little legs are kicking, and he's like, ah, and then she's like, oh shit, it happened. And then he gets the push. It's not like she was like, all right, Ezra, go. And she lifted him up and pushed him all the way to the ship. It's
to Strike's point, it's exactly my point. Midichlorians do exist, and some have a higher count, which makes them.
I would like to see the count by Dave Filoni of whose midichlorian count is what, so that we can argue this further, because right now it's speculation.
You know what?
Right.
It's also
and it's also speculation to say some are born with a high enough count to be Force sensitive. That's literally never been said. Are you serious? They only have ever stated that Anakin's were off the charts, even higher than Master Yoda's. They never said what the cutoff is, bro.
Wait, guys.
No, they, as in George Filoni, not him. Like,
well,
Dave
think
Filoni.
about athletes. Think
George
about
Lucas
athletes
has
in
never
real life.
said
But this is also the argument where everybody gets upset, is that, well, I don't care what Dave Filoni says. Well, cool, but he's the one saying shit now. Like, he's the one that has the conversations with George. I don't. So, like, really, I know everybody hates Dave, but you know, Dave Filoni is the one that gets to tell the story. We don't. And you know, I understand that that's maybe not the choices you want to see, but ultimately these are the choices that are made. And just like I tell the people that don't particularly like me, if you don't like what's being written, stop watching, because this is going to continue, and you're going to continue to be unhappy. Where I go back and watch the OT trilogy over and over and over again until those VHS tapes are worn out, because it's not going to change for you. It's not going to get any better. I understand the frustration, but at the same time, this is the way it is, and they're doing nothing but using past precedent to illustrate their story. If you don't
also,
think Dave
like, for real, the story's not over.
Well, and it's not like Robbie Rod. It's not like Robbie Rod wrote this. It's not like, one of the Gilroy brothers wrote this. This is Dave Filoni, who has the most conversations with George Lucas, who invites him on set to see his creations come to life. And if you honestly think that Dave is going to create a story that he is writing that George wouldn't appreciate, that's interesting. And I don't believe that happens. I genuinely think this is the best story following all of George's arcs, from the Mortis arc to the Ahsoka arcs to the Sabine, character, and the way that she finds the Force just like Luke. This is no different than everything that George Lucas did. And if anything, this entire series was a giant homage to his master, to his mentor, right? Everything in this was literally an homage and a huge amount of respect to George. I mean, shit on it all you want. I just see it a different way, and it's a different point of view. But ultimately, Sabine's storyline is no different than Luke.
Well, now this whole conversation has been null and void because he says he's going to remove himself from the storyline and he's waiting for Andor, then he's gone. But
again, I mean, look, it's all about how you feel about it. But this is no different. That's no different than the people saying, "Fuck Andor, that's not real Star Wars." Right? That argument.
I understand what Strike's saying. I understand what Strike is saying about the Jedi would have just pulled any kid in and attempted to unlock the Force in them. But if even Anthony, who debatably we're not sure if he thinks the Force is only male or not, can theorize and connect even Sabine to somebody like a Tar Vizsla, like, do you need every bloodline to connect to somebody? Because they could probably do it. If they really wanted to,
right,
if enough fans bitch about it, they're gonna make her a Vizsla.
Right, but ultimately,
we're all. Why can't we like both Andor and Ahsoka? What is the?
Well, people can't, and I for one cannot wait for them. I can't wait till I got a gray bush. Not to give you too much information, but I'm just saying, when we're done with the OT period, done. I don't need another story because I don't need any of these people bitching about it anymore. Just don't do any more of the OT. They're gonna run out of shit to tell, and I can't wait.
The way he was watching Grandma's Boy.
10 years. I'm done.
I adore Strike. Strike is one of my favorite people in the world. I really enjoy conversation with him, and I enjoy his channel, and I enjoy all the things that he does. I'm just saying, this is
because
the same This is the same argument that I hear from the people.
I do Strike because I'm allowed to. That's why. I actually have the sense to enjoy content when I see it and say, "Oh shit, that's cool. I like that. I'm gonna go watch Andor."
But everybody,
but it's expectation. I'm gonna go watch that.
It's expectation. This is what I continue to say about fanatics. And whether it's Marvel, whether it's DC, whether it's Star Wars, whatever you're fanatical about, this is the problem with being a fan, as well as this is the hard part about storytelling, because you're not telling the story. Even though we all think our way should be a better way, and our way is right,
nice, Scotty.
But I get it, but at the same time, we're not the ones that have a direct line to the person who created this universe, right? Like that's the thing that's different. Is if
I think the thing that truly changed this universe, and it's not the sequels, it was the prequels. Because my view of Star Wars, and this is my point of view, my personal point of view of how I see this now, changed fundamentally after the prequels. And this was George Lucas. This was George Lucas Star Wars, right? I love the OT. I watch the OT constantly on repeat. It's on all the time. I love the prequels. The idea of midichlorians, I love it. And a lot of people hate that and still hate it to this day. When the first was said in Phantom Menace, people like lost their minds. But here's how I started looking at Force sensitivity ever since then. I grew up playing hockey. I was a goalie. I could be a forward. I grew up playing hockey. I will never be in the NHL because I don't have enough of the natural talent to be able to do that. Ever since the form of midichlorians, ever since that came into the world, I've looked at it like athletes.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I can go play hockey. I can go play baseball. I'm not going to do it professionally. I'm not going to be a hockey Jedi. I could just go play, and I can do
Talent
something.
without training.
Yes.
Talent without training.
Yes. It's one of those things that it brought the world of Star Wars, this fantasy world, into somewhat of a bit of reality for me. That was like, okay, now I can see the comparison here. That's how I started to perceive it. So when I see a character like Sabine, who has training in multiple fashions, and it's able to do the force pull, right? Which, in my opinion, that moment was done perfectly, because she was going to die if she didn't. The force saved her.
Sure.
So that's
Spike's
how
got
I
me
looked at it.
convinced at this point that she's a Vizsla. So
Well,
I'm there.
Didn't they
She's a
already
Vizsla.
say
I'm
that
not
she
going
has
back.
ties to that family? Yeah, because I thought she already had
great granddaddy
a
for
family
me.
on. Yeah,
Has to be.
but it doesn't have to be all bloodlines, and I know a lot of people
Kinda
get
like
tired
it.
of it being the family thing, right? It's like it
Mhm.
can technically, it could end up being anyone, but their midichlorian count matters. If you have a higher count, your other force sensitives will sense your ability as well,
It's
which
too
is how
early, man.
Well,
It's too early.
at the
It's
same
too
time,
early.
so this is the Rey argument, right? This was a person using the most basic abilities that Jedi learn, and it's not like she was sitting there throwing rocks at her opponents. It's not like she was lifting Ezra up by the force. Now, mind you, Ezra could have lifted Sabine up and taken her with him if he wanted to, right? So it really, ultimately, she's not this instant Mary Sue that everybody approaches it as. Everybody sees this Rey moment of being an instantly powerful character. Honestly, she got shot a lot in this episode. She got shot in the back, she got shot in the chest, she got shot a lot in this episode. And if she was so almighty powerful, she would have been Kylo Renning those blaster bolts left and right with her fingers.
Bro,
So
her replacement daddy was Ungar Plot. You savages. You absolute savages.
So look, I agree with you, Matt. I look at, for instance, like racing, right? I really enjoy racing. There are some people in the world that have a natural innate ability to see ahead of even themselves, to react within milliseconds of another person. There's just some people that have another level. John Jones, Michael Phelps, Max Verstappen. You go down these lists of athletes that are just you can't really explain it. They're just on another level, right? I totally agree with you. I look at life much like you were saying. Talent is a huge part of life, raw talent. But sometimes a mom can lift a car off her baby when the moment is needed. Does that mean she is a world power lifter? No, that means in that moment, something special happened,
yeah.
right? So I'm not dogging you for your opinion. I'm just saying, if I'm going to give shit to the people that argue the hardest on one side of my argument, I'm going to do that with the people I respect also, right? And so I'm not going to pull punches on anybody because we're buddies. It's just, it just seems a little gatekeepy to me, right? Like, oh, Sabine can't have it, it's too much. Oh, Sabine can't have it, she's not one of the original Jedi. Oh, she didn't train at the temple ever. That to me is just an argument I don't like, because that limits the amount of people that can do this. For that matter, we should never see another Jedi in the galaxy, right?
Yeah.
And I respect your opinion, but I very much disagree. And I continue to want you to have your opinion. Don't just yes man. Be able to have the debate, walk away going, I agree to disagree, and have a conversation another day, instead of fuck you, I'm out, I hate you. Because that's what too many people do. And I'm not built that way.
Way too many.
And the lineage argument, though it's dope, no creative wants to come in and look at a massive web that goes back 10,000 years and
How
go,
do
wait,
we
where
get
can I
here?"
put a new character in here, please?
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, you know, it's tough. It's tough because people are so passionate about the IP, but ultimately, like, this show did an amazing job at not needing to have the backstory of everything to get there, right? And to make a great show, giving us new characters, showing us new paths, you know, potentially some Legends EU content coming in with, you know, some people are like, fuck Abeloth, I don't want none of it. Some people are like, Abeloth is going to be sick. Either way, I'm in. I like it. The Mortis
Mm.
gods got to make an appearance. I was hoping we'd get to see some world between world shit with Anakin. Last subject of conversation, last scene of the show. Was I right? Has Anakin transcended into more than just a Force ghost? Can he travel between the world between worlds, become a Force ghost, or was that a vision in her head and not really the Anakin we see?
The sooner we
I'll let you guys
accept,
go first.
the sooner we accept Anakin as a father, the better off we'll all be. That's where I'm at. Because
Okay, so Anakin in his death is omnipotent. He
Mm.
is all powerful and can do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, however he wants, minus bringing people back from the dead, i.e., Padme, and affecting the physical world.
Yeah, because he knows his role. Yeah.
Copy that. Next, Matt, what do you think?
I think I think that was Anakin. Him being the chosen one has a lot more to him than just being any other Force ghost or any spirit within the Force. He's on another level that I think we're about to see what his true powers are going to be. Whether or not he's the replacement for the father, I think that can still be up for debate and it could go either way with that. I think we are leaning in that direction since we ended with looking at those statues. I do have to say though, speaking of those statues, why was the daughter broken?
Because she's dead.
Because she's
They're
Morai.
all dead.
Wasn't built
No,
that
but
way.
she's like,
That's all I'm
she's
saying.
She's alive
she
in Morai.
she
So
gave
Yeah.
herself in the eyes of actually. See, we were talking about this before Dan got
Mm.
here. I believe so. I'm gonna go a little
Yeah, Matt
Stargate.
wasn't here for me.
I'm gonna go a little
Mm.
Stargatey for you. So I believe the Mortis gods to be like ascended beings, right? They are above this natural order that we live in, right? And when she sacrificed her soul for Ahsoka to save her life, she was basically imprisoning herself in a mortal form, and that she could no longer transfer into a griffin. She can no longer take human form. She gave up her power, and the owl is her avatar forever. That she is imprisoned in that body, but still has the ability to travel through the void. So, world between worlds, planetary here, she can
With the
still use
statues and how that connects.
the statue. The
Or
reason is
that-
because her physical, she no longer has the power that she once had. So I look at those
So you
statues.
guys are connecting that statue being crumbled with
I am.
Ahsoka being resurrected. Oh, okay.
I am because
Because I'm thinking it.
because I believe that they three locked her up together, and as one piece is removed from the board.
Locked up. You're talking about your Abeloth?
Yeah, I'm talking about Abeloth.
Okay. I'm
Once
just trying to keep up because
once-
these theories
so
get deep.
basically, the
Oh,
daughter's lock is broken at this point. The father, yes, is dead. I don't
Mother,
know.
you mean?
I don't know. The daughter statue is broken. Like, it's crumbled. It's gone on Peridia
Yeah.
is because she's gone. But I don't understand how the father statue
And
is
she's
there.
gone because of the events we saw in Clone Wars. So you're connecting all that together.
Oh yeah.
Okay. See, I'm going older than that. Like this galaxy's older than that event.
Mm.
So, and Matt, I don't know if you were here for my Mount Doom theory.
So listen, the
No,
sun.
I don't think I was.
So I think just briefly, because I've already
Mm.
said it once when Matt wasn't here, but I think that was a lush world before because the Night Sisters were not always the Dark Night Sisters. They were like a more natural Force user. And I think whatever event destroyed the daughter also created a rupture from that pyramid or that thing in the same event.
Like Mordor.
And that's why these Night
Yeah.
Sisters fled from there, because they said that they wanted to leave there. Obsession piggybacked off that, saying that these three mothers may have been stranded. They may have not even been the Night Sisters that ever left. They've been there the whole time. So
Well,
I think that plan's way old.
I think the thing that's calling out to Balin I think Balin's going to end up being the new sun, because the sun, we're talking about killing Force gods in the same sentence, kill and Force gods. That's not really the vibe. The vibe is these are Force gods that transcend all time and existence. Whenever they physically die, they take on a new form, is my interpretation. The father died, he became the living Force. When the dark side died, he's a rat bat creature. And when the daughter died, she's the bird. Well, with the Abeloth thing, I do believe she exists, but I think that if Balin is going in this power that calls him, it could end up being a more tamed, because I don't think that when we get reintroduced to her, that she's going to be the Kraken creature that she's portrayed to be. I think she's going to be more sentient, and she'll either send Balin to the direction of the sun, or it is flat out the sun doing it. But I don't think, because I believe that Balin was an apprentice of Vader, and he's like the canon version of Starkiller, and in a way, not Galen Merrick, but just someone that did shit for Vader, right? Like he knew, yes, Anakin spoke highly of you, but we all know that Anakin had a very small circle, and yes, he was known throughout the Jedi Temple. But Balin, the way he did not want to kill Ahsoka at all throughout this show. He had motive to want to. He was sad he had to do it. So it's possible that that connection there with Anakin. He never even spoke on it. It was like, yeah, you lost, but he's letting Ahsoka figure this shit out on his own. So I think there's a connection there for all three of them.
So do you think that Sabine, talking about the shimmer of starlight, do you think she sees the star on the mountain that Balin is headed towards?
Shimmer of starlight.
That's what she. So when she's looking off in the distance in the last scene where Anakin is standing.
Oh, she said I thought I saw some or heard something.
No, she where's the Bindu, Stanley?
Said I saw a shadow of starlight, is what she said. So I can bring it up for you if you want.
Yeah, I'm gonna object, and I'm gonna need to see that.
Okay. So just for reference, just so everybody knows the Mortis arc a little bit more, the father and the son die together. So all of the Mortis gods are dead at the end of the
follow the code of Harry.
So they're all dead. So the idea that the Mortis gods are going to have any more to play in this, I genuinely think they're gone and dead, and they were the ones who locked up Abeloth.
You come to me. You tell me. We deal with it.
Yeah, that was never in question.
So hold on. So what am I looking for specifically again? Oh, evidence of starlight. Okay, here we go. Let's see. I need some closed caption for the hearing impaired.
Yeah, some words that she said.
No, I got you. I got you closed caption for the hearing impaired. Hold on.
Gentlemen, I gotta bounce, but
hey, it was good to see you.
I appreciate being able to have the
so
discussion with everybody.
Yeah.
I know it's late there, so go get some rest, and we'll see you on the flip side. We should play some games soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, lots going on. Get over to the Matt Cave if you guys get a chance. Subscribe over there. I think he's got like 3,000 subscribers now, so he is making moves. But get over there and check out all the retro gaming that's going on. If it's retro and it's gaming, you're going to catch it over at the Matt Cave. So get over there and enjoy. We will see you soon, sir. Get some rest. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, my friend. See you guys later.
Take care, buddy.
Appreciate it.
Okay, so let's see here.
So she says shadows in the starlight. She just thought she saw something, a shadow.
Yeah, but she says specifically, I thought I saw a shadow in the starlight.
Oh my God, that is totally Morai, by the way.
Right?
No, she doesn't say it exactly like that, but
the birds, that's Morai.
Oh, it must have been nothing. shadows in the starlight.
Shadows.
So
in the
she's
starlight.
not like, I saw a shadow in the starlight.
No, but I mean that's an interesting way to word something.
Yeah, she says also that she felt like,
Right. That's
then
and
it
so
goes
I'm
off.
saying, did she see like a breath of what Balin sees? Like it's dark. He was seeing it at dusk. Is she seeing did she just see something random in the distance that's beaking?
Oh, I think she's feeling Anakin.
You think she's feeling Anakin? That's what I'm asking. Do you think that's a
I
feeling
think
that
she's feeling Anakin.
okay.
Well, to tie that in though, that
Neither
I know
of
that
them see him. He's there, but neither of them see him.
Right.
if
correct.
folk really hate Sabine with the Force that much, you can just say that when Ezra comes back to get her, that Abeloth has already possessed Sabine and forces her to fight him, and now Ezra's forced to kill her. That solves your Sabine problem.
Well, and so this is this is Anakin, and again, this is kind of solidifying my point what we were talking about earlier. This is Anakin's ability to travel between is this Anakin's ability to, is he just a Force ghost? Is he more?
I think he is just a Force ghost, but Force Ghost Yoda has shown us some shit.
Right.
He was able to physically reach out and touch Luke. He's also able to summon a lightning bolt.
Right.
So
but my question,
and people are gonna hate this, but there's a book, Shadows of the Sith. Anakin has been trying to warn Luke, and he's been fighting like literal wraiths in the cosmic force. So Dave
that's
could
just
go
it.
there.
Is it a battle to become a Force ghost? Right? Like, are you constantly battling to be visible and to be heard?
Is there a battle happening inside the cosmic force that we don't
Right.
even know
I
about?
think it's a battle to protect the known universe that Anakin is
I would love that.
stuck
So
because he can't reach them. But
so-
now it looks like that war is over because he's chilling right there.
So is this now? So was the Ahsoka? Was it a vision of Anakin or was it Anakin?
It was Anakin.
Scotty,
Her
was
her
it a
near
dream?
death her near death experience was a hallucination.
Hallucination.
Yes.
Dan says it was the world between worlds.
Yeah.
See, I'm on the scope of that. He is now more than any Jedi has ever been. He is more in the Force than any Jedi has ever been. So I look like I said, I would love Dave Filoni to answer some of these questions for us. I would love for him to sit down and do some interviews with some sweaties, some real hardcore sweaties that would ask good questions. And if you can't answer it because there's more on the table, then just say, I have to plead the fifth. This will ruin something for you guys. So just enjoy the question being the question, and you can read on from there. But if it's something that he can answer, I would love for him to answer them.
What'd I say, Kay? What happened? What'd I do?
Oh, I don't know. Who knows what you do? You doing wild shit all the time. All right. So Dan the man is still working on his project. How are things coming? Is everything progressing well, I hope?
Oh yeah, I just had a phone conversation before I hopped on here. We are shooting in November. That is the plan. Our script has been locked. It's been a 7-month-long process to get the script right.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It is done, and our team is going to be built out more in October, casting, all that good stuff. And yeah, man, we're doing it. So November is our date, and get ready to see an awesome show.
Good. Let me know if you need anything. We will talk offline, but yeah, let me know if you need anything that will facilitate, make this cheaper for you and make it better. So Scotty Hawks is over there doing extract gaming on the constant. The other night he did a late night darker and darker stream that was fantastic. We had a great time. What else are you doing?
Pretty much just all the games I play have some form of proximity chat. So the player interaction is what makes it the most fun. And if you'd like to see how I believe that you can tactfully troll the Star Wars community, doing Star Wars shorts, and people seem to respond well to them. I'm taking the responses and kind of evolving it. I'm looking for suggestions all the time. So I'm taking the theory crafting and kind of putting it right in the face of the fandom.
Nice. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So subscribe to both of these guys, get over to all their Patreons, support everybody everywhere they are. It's important.
I know, okay.
It's important to support the creators that we like to watch. So get out there and do so. As always, thank you guys for being here. I'm very thankful for everybody that comes by and gives us a click and gives us some of their time. Time is the most valuable thing. So thank you for donating some of yours here today. As always, don't forget, get your pets over and get them spayed and neutered. Help control the pet population. Also, don't forget, tell everyone in your life what you truly think and how you feel, because you don't know what tomorrow brings. And as always, thank you to my cohorts in crime, Scotty Hawks, Dan the Man. Matt Cave has probably already seen the back of his eyelids. I hope you guys had a good time. I'm gonna do more. We're gonna talk more. We're gonna game more. There's more on the horizon. So stick around, tell your friends. And if you have any questions about anything, feel free to leave any comment you want. I don't judge you for how you feel. So thank you guys for being here. And as always, may the force be with you. Have a great evening. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you.